on the final table, up to a total of 8 chips. On every break, we are going to replenish 2 more chips to a maximum of 8.
It's just the jumper room. Do I have more chips?
I have more than you, I believe. A little bit. Tiny bit. We have the same amount of blues.
You've got more by 10k.
Way more blues.
Ah, true. Oh, yeah, you're right. You might be a bit more.
Rightio, thanks for joining us back here. We are at the final table of the Goliath, APT's premier event, $2,500 entry. We were hand for hand for about 3 hands until Tony Hashem, our bubble boy, busted in 10th, which took us into the money, $5,500 for both 8th and 9th. We are in the money, 9 left, and what a table we have full of notables. We run through that, but as Harvey takes a bit of a break tonight, we're going to try and get some guests in and out of the booth, and I've managed to pluck Australian Poker Schedule's very own Craig Abernathy. Thanks for joining us, Craig.
Yep, good to be here. Yeah, this is a pretty good table, isn't it, as you said? A lot of familiar faces. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching a few of the guys that, some of the regulars and some of the guys I haven't seen before. But yeah, as you said, their premier event, it's 2.5k buy-in.
Cut off there, Craig. Well, I was going to read the stacks out for you, but we might leave it to Alex Hansen. We'll tune into the table.
Seat 3, our current chip leader, Tom Maguire, with 1,243,000.
She played about like 3 times the next guy, right? Yeah.
In seat 4, we have Josh Goldsmith with 480,000. In seat 5, with 770,000, Michelle Anunu.
Calm down, everyone.
In seat 6, with 844,000, Dion Murray. And in seat 7, Ahmed Latif with 376,000.
Fan favourite over here.
In seat 8, with 480,000, we have Matthew Jin. And last but not least, in seat 9, with 512,000, completing our final table, Lachlan Crilly.
Woo!
Each player in the Goliath has locked up a min cash of $5,500, playing all the way through to a top prize of $45,000. Our button has been drawn to seat number 2. Blinds will commence at 8,000, 16,000 with a 16,000 big blind empty for just another 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Without further ado, players, I wish you all the very best of luck. Taylor, you may shuffle up and deal.
Good luck, players.
So we get the shuffle up and deal from Alex Hansen. He gave you the introduction and the stacks there. I will run through those with you a little bit later just to recap. We tend to really pick up streaming numbers as the final table starts, so I'll go over that shortly. But what is important, you'll see on our new skin, our 4-colour deck. I know I keep banging on about it, but just to let you know, those blinds and antes will be up at the start of every hand, and then we have our 9 out of 66 in the top right-hand corner. So that's where you'll see our blinds and antes. We're at 8, 16, 16 for another 2 more minutes, so probably one hand or 2 hands, and then we'll be at 10, 20, 20. Now, Craig, how has the series been for yourself so far?
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it, actually. I have a bit of a break with work, so I get the chance to play for a couple of weeks, and yeah, I've been impressed. I know, as looking at the room, it's not overflowing, but the quality of the events has been really impressive. Feels like everything's just under control and running smoothly. Yeah, I haven't seen any issues at all, and yeah, I've been really enjoying it. I've had I bagged first attempt in the main event, the $600 main, and got a min cash straight away, and I really like that.
That's actually one thing that's received a lot of positive feedback, is cashing that main event on on that day one. So once you bag, you're in the money. Received a lot of good. What do you like? What do you like about that?
Well, I've actually seen it overseas in Vegas at a few places, and I thought it was good then, and it's just great that it's come here and we get to see what it's like here. And as I said, a lot of players have given good feedback about it. Straight away, you're in the min cash. The 12.5%, almost bang on what all the places should be paying. Double your money, and yeah, so straight into the money, and a lot of players love that. Like, I
You walk away with your cash on the day.
Well, I got handed, instead of just being handed a bag to put my name and my chip count on it, I got handed a wad of cash as well. And it's a good feeling at the end of the night. And even I was speaking to a couple of the guys that played the mini main last night.
I don't want to cut you off twice in 5 minutes, but we definitely have a big hand alert here. As Lachlan Crilly decides to put the 9s into the muck. Don't like it versus... Actually, no, it's a raise and it's a call. It's a limp and a raise. So I originally thought this was a raise and 3-bet, which would make our 9s fold there a lot of the time with ICM. Just to recap, me and Harvey have been trying to entertain the players on the stream, but prior to these final tables, but on the final table, we will look to concentrate on a lot of how these hands are played out, and Ray just finding the nut 3-bet here with King 10 suited. Matt's range is really strong, even with this under the gun limp, but we love King 10 suited in this spot, and Ray, of course, runner up in the APL Millions all those years ago for $350,000. He got there for a reason, and we're seeing why. But if we're Matty Gin, we might have way too much hand versus our opponent for 30 bigs. Let's see how he proceeds. And he's put it in the face of Ray Wang, and it's going to get a snap fold. But I love seeing that. That's hand 1.
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, it's hand 2 of our final table, and action aplenty. Ray taking his 3-bet there. We love to see this, especially now with Tom Maguire, all the chips. I'll reintroduce the players in a little later. We just had that from Alex Hansen as our numbers pick up on stream. But Craig, and you mentioned any other runs for yourself other than the main event?
I had a deep run in the Super Freeze last night, the 550. Went quite late, final table, but I choked, I guess you could say. It was like second or third, fifth or sixth chip stack, so third from the bottom, and converted that into a 9th. So went in 7th, came 9th.
I appreciate that. Having 10% of that, I was really happy with the min cash. I hope you can sense the sarcasm in my voice, and all the offsuit package stuff that you've got. I really don't want to hear about.
Well, there's nothing to report there except I spun it up today in the 150 Minotaur, which was actually a really good event.
Oh, we were
spruiking.
Right, me and Harvey were spruiking the Minotaur all week. We were using that event to try and get players from the pubs in their home games into their first professional deal adult 150. And being on a Friday, we thought that might pack out the room. Didn't get the numbers we potentially thought it might get, but still a great event for us to put on here at APT, a deal adult 150. What do you think about these low buy-in deal adults, Craig? You are definitely one of the most critical men in Australian poker. You're always keeping us honest, and I think that your insight's really valuable to these schedule changes. What do you think of these 150, 250 deal adult, $80 deal adult satellites as well? Really want to get your insight onto that too. What are we feeling?
Yeah, well, I guess the main thing that we notice, just cut me off if there's a hand here, but the main thing that I notice is that the tables are sort of all under control. Like, you have a dealer, so the dealer leads the action, and a lot of the dealers are quite good. In fact, every dealer I've had this week's been great, and they control the action, so they let you know when it's on you. The game's just faster. You don't have all the misdeals and cards face up that you see in self-dealt. I'm a big fan of self-dealt for the pub sort of entry level, but it's great to have like a competitive series, and players can turn up $150, get a dealer. They experience the chip race at that level too, which is good. So a few new things like that, and it's just like a natural progression. And then the players that play the 150 might go, I like that, and next time they might play a 350 or a 450 or a 5, you know, and that's just the way it's got to be. So I really like it. Great effort by APT to do that. Yeah.
That is a big change to the schedule. The first time I've operated, have a full professional. Part of that. Fold there with
Nine raise, 40,000. 4-0.
raise, but
One fold, two folds. Three folds.
entering the spot there is still polarising.
Four folds. Five folds. Six folds.
Treat it potentially as a raise in that spot anyway. Not enough. Market. Been impressed with Ahmed's play. We don't know much about Ahmed. We're going to get some. I'm going to try and get the chat up later on to get some information on his players. Who I don't know, but Ahmed's play gets scolded in the chat. Completely and utterly put in my place, deservedly so. I wanted a bit of information about Josh, and I found out he actually won this event.
Yes.
Won this event
He did.
Being from Melbourne, I hadn't come across Josh before and didn't know that information, and I put the list down in the chat for a previous winner of the event, which big on my face there. All the time. Really am. So appreciate the feedback there in the chat. Ahmed's going to go the check jam here on Queen 10 Deuce. Rainbow and Ace King with the 2 overs and the gutter to the nuts. He's going to get a. There are times potentially we may have to put this in, but love this jam from Ahmed, really putting Lockie under the pump, and impressed with Ahmed's play leading right up to this final table. If you see any mates of Ahmed in the chat, let us know. What are we doing here, Craig? Where can we flick this in?
No. Well, I mean, I haven't played much with Ahmed, but you know, I wouldn't think he's got nothing. Like there's not a 2 draw heavy. Like it's not a flush draw sort of board. I'm putting him on at least a pair, rather than a draw. So.
Yeah, so just remember our calculator here will take into account, not a calculator, our outs do take into account those folded cards, so really in pretty poor shape. He doesn't know that, but 7 outs twice. He's going to flip. Oh, no, sorry.
Time bank.
Gotcha. Before with the time banks. He got a
Yes.
whole heap of time banks on the stone bubble and threw them in, and me and Harvey said he put in the call, but no, it's time bank time for a while. Let's see how you see.
Yeah. The time banks.
Apologies. Hold on. My mic was off then. My bad.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. So that will happen from time to time. Apologies, but Lachlan Crilly, as I was just saying, those folded cards, they are taken into account on the top right-hand side. So Crilly there with 7 outs, usually with 11 in pretty poor shape. So love that really aggressive play there from Ahmed. Just to reiterate, you'll see we're across 3 platforms tonight: Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Facebook chat's really been the one that's popping off over the week. Love our contribution from YouTube and Twitch as well. But we are 9 left in the Goliath. 9 pay. Our bubble boy busted in 10th. 9th, $5,500, as well as 8th, 7th, 7,000. 6th is good for $8,700. 5th, 10.5K. 4th will be 14,000. 3rd, 19,500. 2nd, 29,000. And to the victor will go the spoils of the Goliath, $45,000.
I see Tom there raising it up. Then he's got the green paint fingernails. Did you notice that?
Yes, I do. Tom is certainly an eccentric character, and we love Tom.
And he's got the 4-colour deck, making use of his 4-colour deck. He's got the 10-8 of clubs in the lovely green, matches his nails.
Tom, we were very surprised to see Tom flicking the 2.5K in. Tom, currently one of the best players in Australia. I dare say he'll be on a flight to Vegas very shortly.
for the World Series. We won't see too much of Tom in Australia over the next 2 months. But taking away from players' just choices here, Craig, we're going to run through our chip stacks roughly with these notables on our final table. Of course, Jacques Ramsden. Jacques Ramsden in seat 1. How lively was he on the stone bubble? And of course, advantageous of that set over set scenario versus Scott. I saw Scott out in the room just after that hand busted. Nothing much you can do there. But Jacques in seat 1's going to be taking in 670,000 chips. Ray Wang, APL main event winner for 350k, and he's an APT mini main and main event winner, 1.2 million chips. And Tom's going to increase that original final table stack of 1.2 million. As we said, Tom, one of the best players in Australia at the moment, chip leading this final table. We feel like the path to victory for the Goliath will be through Tom Maguire. Seat 4, of course, Josh Goldsmith, a previous winner of this event at 500k. Michelle Anunu, an absolute star of Australian poker, puts fear into the god of me and basically everyone else. He's good for 800k as Michelle Anunu. Of course, what a great story. Michelle is an APT main event winner, learning No Limit Hold'em all the way back in the Israeli army when he used to play for Smokes. And here he is here at the final table, another final table for Michelle. Dion Murray, get your hearts out in the chat for Dion. Don't know much about Dion. Let us know any information about Dion. We're greatly appreciated. Latif Ahmed, as I mentioned, got that check jam through there against Lachlan Crilly. Been really impressed with Ahmed's play here. I haven't really come across him too often. Would like any mates in the chat, let us know about Ahmed. Seed 8, of course, no secret. My best mate, Matthew Gin. We'll try and keep things as biased as possible, but sometimes it's hard not to get a little excited. He's a star of Australian poker, multiple major titles, but he said to me on the break, that APT title is the one that's eluded him, and he's really looking forward to making amends to that here. And of course, seat 9. It's the legend of Brisbane poker. You've known Lachlan from the pubs as soon as he was 18. And here he is on the final table, a multiple APT winner himself with 500,000 chips. Who's your pick, Craig?
I'm going to be biased and say Tom. I got to know Tom pretty well over the last couple of months, just by just talking to him at the Star, where he did so well in the Mystery Bounty event, and that was, he won 150k that day, $170,000 and 70k mystery bounties as well. But he explained to me like he's probably in for more than that in his tournament career anyway, and so it's obviously. It was really emotional. It was a really good win for him, and it was really good to share that win with him. So, yeah, I got to know Tom quite well, so I'm a bit biased and cheering for him, and I haven't seen him win an APT trophy, so that's even another reason. As Jinxie's just ducked out for a minute. So I'm sort of free-rolling this one myself. Let's see what cards we can pick up here. As I said, Tom's rocking those cool green fingernails. That's looks different initially, but getting used to it. Kind of, if you know Tom, is, as Jinxie said, a little bit eccentric and
120.
yeah, he can certainly rock the nails. So Tom's raised it up with a mystery hand, which I don't mind, and then Josh Goldsmith, who, as Jinxie said, he won the Goliath at Eaton's Hill 2023, I believe. He's woken up with jacks, and then Lachlan Crilly's got another monster hand, the Ace King. So this could be a interesting hand. We may also see some time banks used. At least two of them. I'm not sure how Josh really plays, but at least Tom and Lachlan probably make use of those time banks more than the others. They're both known to, really think about their play. They're obviously very well studied, so they'll be looking at precise bet sizing and every action on every node of this, so they'll be considering it. So yeah, the time banks will be used. Now Lachlan's putting them both to the test here. He's,
Two folds.
it's like he's jammed 512,000, so north of 30 bigs seems reasonable. Tom looks like he was pretty quick to muck there and had a sip of beer, and we've got Josh Goldsmith thinking about this. It's a cold 4-bet from Lachlan Crilly.
Just getting a little bit of information on our players back here joining with you, Craig. I believe we potentially have the right fella, Ahmed Latif, previous 5K champion at the Victoria Poker Champs back in 2015, good for 45K.
Wow.
And he's also won an APT trophy, the 350 Mega Freeze for 11,000. And that was last year in Brisbane. I believe we do have the right fella there, so good poker resume there from Ahmed. I can see as we have a collision here between Lachlan Crilly and Josh Goldsmith. Don't see a scenario where these chips don't go in.
Lachlan's cold 4 here. Tom opened, got Josh 3-bet, and Lachlan put in the cold 4. So
I mean, I think for what are we feeling here? Sub 20. We've just gone up. Have we gone up that into the 10K to 20K? I mean, you know, upwards of 30 bigs plus. I can't see a reason why Josh would ever fold here. Especially to the even with the cold 4 from Lachlan Crilly.
Looks like
he's going to bin this.
Oh wow!
Goodness me. Lachlan Crilly, known as a very aggressive player amongst the circuit. You know, it's a spot where it's nearly impossible to have any bluffs. We've got to decide now if our opponent is going to jam Jackson 10s, and he doesn't know that Lachlan Crilly passed on the pocket 9s prior in that.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Lachlan...
Hold on, Craig, sorry again. Let's just... He's going to bin the... No, he's caught. No, he's folded.
Folded.
He's folded the jacks. Let us know what you think in the chat. It appears that Josh has got around 23 big blinds after the 3-bet and folds to the jam of Lachlan Crilly. Goodness me, that's it's definitely one to chat about.
I mean, Lachlan only used one time bank before he 4-bet there, so that's pretty scary in itself. He obviously knew he was, had a nut hand. It wasn't one of his bluffs. But yeah, I mean,
look, Crilly doesn't have any. Like no one. I'm not no disparage to Crilly whatsoever. Look, but no one has. I don't think anyone has bluffs there in this spot.
Yeah.
But look, I'm a little perplexed. We're 3-betting for value versus Tom. That's an extremely strong range that Crilly's identified, but we've just got too much hand for 24 bigs with ace king off. It's always going in, but folding the jacks is let us know what you think in the chat there.
And do you think Lachlan will have someone watching that and feeding that information back to him?
Oh, no, of course. But I mean, I think with a raise, just the way the stack distribution appears to be with Tom and Josh taking a 3-bet there versus Tom's open specifically. Once Crilly jams, there's very, very few bluffs. And, if you are in the chat thinking there are some bluffs, then I might want you to comment on the fold with the jacks. If you think if the player has even one combination of a bluff or two that he's taken, obviously jacks we can't bin there, but 25, I think we're 26 effective. I'm just trying to get some details back on that hand, but folding jacks there is we've got so much hand for 25 big blinds. It's a very interesting spot, not claiming to know the answer, so going to try and get some suggestions from everyone watching. The views are starting to pop off as well. Certainly very active chat regarding this hand. Very well-known, established professional down from Victoria, Troy McLean, telling me I'm an absolute beluga. So, anyone here that thinks any different, let us know. Happy to hear all the opinions, but just a really tough spot there that Josh was in. And
I mean, Josh has won this event before, so he knows what it takes.
Absolutely. We're in here for a reason, Craig.
That's right.
Josh is another final table of the Goliath. You know, what do we know? I flicked 23 2.5Ks last year and cashed precisely 0. And here we are commenting on Josh, who's won the event and on another final table, but just the way those stacks are distributed, it's really hard to find a fold there, but maybe just didn't want to take the spot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm happy to give that one a pass. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do. It's a tough one to call there. I mean, 2.5K, final table. Depends. Like, I guess specifically myself, this is a very tough final table. I think I'm going for it.
You take the spot.
I think I'm taking it, right?
And that's really good strategy. You know, if you're more incentivized to run your equity there, and
if it was, a slightly weaker final table, and I thought I had a significant edge, then maybe I wouldn't want to just flip for it. But
oh goodness me, the chat's popping off, Craig.
Yeah,
we've had so many hands this week that, who could forget? I don't want to harp on it, but who could forget Gary Lynn's call off in the Players' Champs, which the chat ticker was so wild that we actually lost track of some of the comments because they kept scrolling off the screen and everyone voting on what Gary Lynn was going to do in that hand as it happened, and the whole room, the only one that didn't care about that hand was Gary Lynn himself. And who could forget the amount of action we had in the chat when Anya called off Naman's bluff with 5 left in the grind last night. Got us all pumped too, but the chat's looking pretty similar here. It's one comment can't get to all of those, but one comment I will point out. I love that from you, Matt. If we're going to decide that we're going to fold to a player behind us, really love that smaller size there. We look to have these smaller sizes in ICM spots anyway, but that allows us to fold if we feel like we're behind a jam space. Say if Matty Gin or Lachlan Crilly put the chips in there. Matty Wingham chiming in with some brilliant piece of advice for an element hold'em final tables. If we're going to decide to fold, let's choose that smaller size. Don't mind that you from Matt, thank you. But just even there, more to Matt's point, once we do choose that size, what we've done there, it just makes it so hard to fold. And goodness me, if Crilly's jamming ace king off there, we've got to think. Well, we know he folded the 9s, but if he's jamming 10s. We've got to have a think about. We've got to have a think about our risk versus reward in a spot such as this. If Lachlan Crilly has ace queen suited and ace king off, we are accepting that's a really strong range. But sometimes we just got to put our chips in the middle. We're a $5,500 min cash here, and the next position as well also gets the same payout. Maybe it's time to go for it, Jack's. Sub 25, such a strong hand. We are here to win. Josh knows what to do though. He's won the event before, so love to see your contribution in the chat. Good to see everyone really interested in this final table.
It's interesting. Murray is just called again, or limped, I should say.
It's a second limp from Murray.
Yeah.
We had the 2s and then the Queen Jack O. Certainly what we would think would be somewhat unconventional. Maybe
he's got a bit of a Huss One look about him, I reckon. Huss, the slick haircut.
I haven't seen Huss One limp into too many pots in my experience playing against him.
Definitely not. Plays completely different, but just a bit of a doppelganger there, I reckon. If anyone knows Huss One, who won the APO main event earlier this year.
As I said, we've got a lot of notables here. Some of the best players in Australia. In my opinion, Tom is definitely in that conversation to be one of the best players in Australia at the moment. So many great online scores, but very few. We've probably got a half mix of professionals and recreationals here, I believe. I tell you what, I'd be a brave man to call Michelle Anunu a recreational. He's won more money than most professionals I know, and he's won more pots off any of them. Jacques Ramsden, such an accomplished player, final table the last main event at APT. Ray Wang, been a professional for some time with a huge score. He's got the most cashes here.
Yeah, Georgina agrees with me about the analogy with
That's
Hustler.
Gina, Craig.
Georgina.
It's Gina.
Gina V, yeah, I know who she is.
Come on,
yeah.
Craig. We run that Australian poker schedule for a reason. We've got to know what's going on.
I've seen the top 5 GPI women in Australia, and Gina's definitely up there.
We actually spoke about that. We spoke about Jen's race. Jen Castle, one of the best female players in Australia. Be up there in the conversation for one of the better players in Australia as well. In that race for a World Series of Poker main event seat from a free roll. Yeah, there's 3 left in that race. I believe the 2 ladies from China are hot on the heels of Jen Castle. Just another, I believe you reported that on your website as well.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking for the latest news in Australian poker, don't forget to go to Craig's Facebook page. He's always updating, you know, the exploits of Australians overseas is what we love to see. And I think you updated that Jen's in front in that World Series main event ticket race.
AustralianPokerSchedule.com.au has all the news on it. It feeds from the Facebook. But yeah, a lot of the news articles, because I think it's important to promote poker in a positive light as much as you can. You know, occasionally we get a few negative stories that come out about poker, but the main thing is that positive things, particularly growth in Australian poker, particularly in the women, like we've seen this week at APT alone, at least 5 winners, 5 APT trophies this week have gone to ladies. And they don't make up more than 5%.
7.
7 is it now?
7.
Yeah, there
so
you go.
Harvey Silva has estimated a potential an 8-to-1 disparity in the room generally from men to women, but they've won a third of the trophies.
Yeah, it's actually great to see. And I was out there today, and battling. There's probably on average 1 lady per table, which, as you say, is about 12.5% or 1 in 8. But yeah, at the moment they've been doing really well. It's great. I love to see it.
Of course, Gina with that huge score in the APO main event for around 100k. We love to see that. Would probably have lost count how many times she's won those the Cyprus and all those Brisbane tournaments that run on a regular basis. But you know, what an amazing representation we have of female poker in Australia at the top level. Anya Asmai last night played.
Yeah, of course.
Played at a level that, you know, I was just really so impressed with. And we've also got Jen Castle, as we mentioned. You will see. I know.
And Anya will be good for that run too. Like, you know, like just the experience she would have got out of that big final table. She would have learnt so much too. So she'll improve next time. Don't worry too.
And then, of course, Jade Mitchell. But don't forget, not sure if this is Far Lap-esque, but I don't mind claiming Natalia Rizova as well as an Australian. She's flicking in all the... I know she's a Kiwi, Russian Kiwi, but she's always in Australia. Yeah. Anya and Natalia, best mates, and, you know, you'll see Natalia in those high-stakes cash games and and a litany of scores overseas as well. Just love to see what we're seeing here with the female aspect of Australian poker. Of course, Jade Mitchell, 13 trophies, more than anyone that I know anyway. But let's get back to the action.
And the chat should also be good, you know, to tag their friends and family if they're not aware that they're on the stream, because that's good to share and like, just so that you know, that sort of spreads the audience of poker as well by tagging the players that may not know they're on there, or their family may not know they're on there.
I will tell a story. I'm, you know, trying not to be a little biased, but it's hard for me. I'm an emotional guy. I love getting amongst the hands and talking to Anya this morning. Her sister, they grew up together in Russia. Her sister and her husband wouldn't know what a deck of cards was if it hit them in the face. They were on the edge of their seat at home in their lounge room watching sister and sister-in-law play, and spoke to them this morning, and they were absolutely ecstatic. They loved the coverage. You know, we try and have a mix of. We know that there's a lot of people that don't know much about poker that are tuning in to watch friends and family. We know there's a lot of guys tuning in that do know a lot about poker, so we try and split it up for you and make it good coverage for everyone. But just listening to them say like how much they love that coverage and watching her, and they don't know anything about poker, but they started to pick it up with how those graphics are and starting to pick up the game. Love hearing that people that know nothing about it tuning in and enjoying watching their family and friends.
Yeah, growth of the game is so important. And if you've got, if you've got family that want to watch you, it's perfect. You know, you can even go back and watch videos later. So it's good just to have that record of you on one of these final tables.
I'm not a geography expert. What flag are we running here with Tom Maguire? Are you aware? Yeah, let us know in the chat.
Ooh.
I don't.
I have seen that one.
I'm not a geography connoisseur, but Tom Maguire is potentially a bit of a troll. Maybe I'm unsure.
I'm going to start at Kazakhstan or something like that. Some
type of Middle Eastern.
Some Stan.
Well, I mean, look, I don't want to stereotype here, but I don't think Tom is
Kazakhstan.
I'm not sure Tom is of Uzbekistani descent, but if you do know what that flag is, let us know.
I'm going to guess it's one of those stands. Just from memory. I'm actually interested too. Like, I'm not interested, but I like to watch the different players at the table and how they act. So we've got Matty Ginn. He's a chip shuffler, for example. Lachlan Crilly, he's a chip shuffler. Tom Maguire is a bit of a chip shuffler. Michelle, he just sits there, arms crossed, hand on the chin. It's interesting, different players. I don't know.
I was asked off stream a couple of days ago. Everyone know, a lot of people in the community know that I've had a lot of trouble playing Michelle in the past. It does appear to be the flag of Kazakhstan, so we feel that might be some type of reference to Borat. Tom Maguire with a monstrous troll here. As I said, I really don't want to stereotype here, but I'm unsure if Tom has any descendants from Kazakhstan. Let us know if I am wrong, but Matty Ginn has a decision off 25 here with a 5-6 suited.
Well, my geography gets a pass, surely. Was that one of the stands I said?
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I'll cop the guess. Tom's motherland is Kazakhstan, we're being told. Maybe I am wrong. Goodness gracious me. A couple of very nices in the chat. Thanks, Lawrence. But I think Tom on the ultimate troll. Born and bred in Queensland, I'm led to believe. As we have some type of hand developing here, you know, definitely sub 25. We don't think really this is too much of a hand to pass up, obviously, but it's just depending on if he wants to raise to induce Matty's jam or just rip her in, and Crilly chooses the latter. Sorry, not latter, but well, it was yapping on about previously, Craig. If you can get me back on, track, what we were just talking about before we hit the chat with realising that Tom was trolling us with the Kazakhstani flag. But
okay.
I wonder if Tom's going to run the Kazakhstan flag when he goes over to the WSOP. If he final tables the main event, I'm unsure that they'll allow the Kazakhstani flag.
Well, you know, what I love about the WSOP is it's almost like the Olympics in the way that they play the national anthem of the bracelet winners.
Do they really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
In the main ballroom that certainly they did in Paris, in the Paris casino. When I was there a couple of years ago, and it was pretty much Russian national anthem after Russian national anthem, but or French. The French are actually French national anthem's obviously very popular, and obviously the American one, which I like. But yeah, no, it's really cool. I think, you know, it's like they treat it like the Olympics, you know.
Too much success overall on the, if you're going to liken it to the medal tally. Unsure that their national anthem would have got played too many times for Australia last year.
It was one of the guys from Melbourne, I believe.
Yeah, Hassan. Yeah, Hassan Kamal took down the 10K 08 for 500,000 US, and those that know Hassan is, you know, he's not a regular on these tournament series, but Hassan is probably one of the best, if not the best, 08 player in the world, but you just don't hear from him because he doesn't play tournaments. And he proved that when he just rocked up for a laugh, apparently.
Yeah.
He rocked up for a laugh to play the 10K 08, and he had the chip lead from 42 left.
Right.
Hassan Kamal. And no one even got close. Apparently it was an absolutely dominant performance, and that was Australia's only bracelet last year. Melbourneite there, Hassan Kamal, good to see.
It is great when you have a tournament like that. They're not very, very few and far between. But sometimes just the easiest tournament of your life where you just get the hands, you hold. I believe that's what you're saying happened with Hassan. Just had one of those tournaments.
I'm led to believe that, you know, I don't play. I'm only trying to learn the mixed games currently, but I'm led to believe there's very big edges in 08. I think if you're very good at 08, your edge is as big in 08 as it is in any game. Happy to be corrected by anyone in the chat, but that is what my fellow mixed game players tell me. And 08, of course, such a popular game. That $1,000 08 event at the World Series last year with 1,100 runners, simply unbelievable. Really good sign for mixed games going forward.
And here's Murray. What's he doing this time? It's Murray Dion, not Dion Murray. Is that right?
Unsure. If you know Murray or Dion, get your hearts out in the chat and let us know. You know, he's probably showed potentially. Here to flick this in for. You'd like to see the raise here with the threes, but potentially on a recreational side here with those two limps under the gun with pocket twos and queen jack. But he's accumulated a monstrous amount of chips with his strategy. We love to see.
Yeah, well, the actual raise actually sort of means a bit more strength because he hasn't limped this time, so players might have noticed that. As we saw Matty Gin fold.
This is too much hand for Jacques.
Yeah, Jacques, okay.
We're looking at 26 bigs here, pocket eights.
Yeah, okay.
You know, it's around the bottom of what we want to be jamming here versus an under the gun raise and +3 raise and hijack call. Actually, no, sorry, I thought it was a raise and a 3-bet pot. I just assumed Ahmed called the ace queen, and he's called to snap off Jacques, and we are off to the races. Huge pot, 1.2 million chips. This is a tournament defining pot because we know if Jacques accumulates a lot of chips throughout this final table, he's going to be really hard to play against, but don't discount Ahmed. Both players I think Ahmed will be out. Jacques will be out. Ahmed will be left with 2 big blinds if he loses. And we'll try and bring you this flop. The lighting not great here, but we'll give it to Brian Wynn, the TD, to take us through the hand.
Flop, 9 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 6 of spades. Turn and ace of spades. There's a 9 of diamonds. We do lose.
And that'll be it. Jacques, 10 left, 1.1 million chips, busts in 9th. And I reckon if we're close to correct, Ahmed might have 2 big blinds more than Jacques Ramsden, and we will lose Jacques in 9th. Yeah, good for a min cash of $5,500. But after that raise and the call, we're just always jamming the pocket eights, and we'd love to see Ahmed with a plan there.
I love to see this too. I love to see the dealer counting it out and the TD on the final table checking these stacks too, because it's very important. It's too late once
they're gone.
Once they just mixed it all together. That's exactly how the final table should be run too. So that's great professionalism, I think.
Chat lively here. Love this. We've found out that it is Dion. It is Dion, not.
Didn't even get a page up.
And as Michelle complains considerably that he doesn't even get a pay jump. I can tell you right now, $5,500 is chump change to Michelle compared to you and me, Craig.
Yeah.
Not going to do much to change Michelle's life. He'd tell you that himself, but he doesn't play for money. We know that. Money's secondary for Michelle Anunu. He is a competitor. Of course, learnt No Limit Hold'em in the Israeli army. Back in the 40s and 50s. No, sorry. Didn't mean that, Michelle. Back in the 70s and 80s. Michelle's had it over me for a very long time. I want to get one jive back in there, but the legend of Australian poker, APT main event winner Michelle is. And
Michelle owns a tile business. And I believe, he just loves poker. It's a good escape from, what is a tough trade. I believe he's a tile artist by trade.
Wow.
That's great. He's a recreational player, obviously.
That's what we were talking about before. You've just jogged my memory. We were running through the players left on the FT and, who's recreational, who's professional, semi-professional, and I was going to say I was a bold man to call Michelle a recreational because he'd be up piles of money, and I haven't won a hand against him for 2.5 years, and a lot of my mates haven't either. He is as aggressive as they come, and he's not a player you want on your table as Michelle Anunu, but Lachlan Crilly been playing the game professionally for around 12 months now. Entrepreneur is like he ran a cleaning business before he started here as a professional poker player. And Matty Jim, we just know, one of the more intellectual beings in any room, let alone a poker room. Been playing the game professionally for about 12 months now, and love this from Matt. Would call himself a semi-professional player, but he certainly has the moxie of most pros. Love seeing Matt here at the FT, a Jack Star and Centurion winner of the APL.
Well, Matty must have been playing for several years. You said you know him very well. You're one of his best mates. But I think I saw a photo of him a couple of months ago with a different hairstyle.
It's one of the greatest poker stories in the history of Australian poker, and it's not well known. And I won't tell it. I'll get confirmation to tell it from Matty because it's hilarious. But it's Matt's second ever tournament. His first ever tournament was a $160 Aussie Millions main event satellite back in 2011 or 12 when he was working as a TD for APL. Matt turned that $160 into a $10,000 APL main event seat. And that was good for $20,000. Actually cashed his second tournament ever. He cashed his second tournament ever, and that was the APL, that was the Aussie Millions 10K main event back in 2012. That'd be the photo that you were referring to, and unfortunately that $20,000 never hit Matty Gin's pocket. It was lost on the way to the car.
Really?
I believe potentially an ex-partner put it in her bag. It was left on the top of a car, I believe. Matty's first ever cash in a Aussie Millions main event. The money was never seen, that bag was never seen again, and we're led to believe it's still on the top of a car somewhere in Australia 10 years later to this day. GG's Matty Gin.
Yeah, well, and what I get out of that too is he's been playing for 12 years at least.
Oh, I love this from you, Didier. This is unbelievable. I'm not in shock because Michelle is as competent business owner / poker player as you'll get, but goodness me, Michelle won the $215 PokerStars warm-up back in 2012, and apart from the Sunday Million, if you played online prior to 2015 due to the legislation changes, you would have always been flicking in the Sunday Million on a Monday morning. But the second biggest tournament of that day every week was a Sunday warm-up, and we've just found out that Michelle is the victor of the Sunday warm-up, a secret online whiz kid, Michelle Anunu. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and as I'm a bit of an IT whiz myself, and the thing that I'd like to see Michelle's keyboard, because I reckon the keys on it and the size of his keyboard with those hands he'd need one of those big mechanical keyboards, I reckon. And it needs to be crunch, crunch, crunch. You know.
Goodness me, I love. Oh my God, Michelle Anunu, what a legend.
Yeah,
what a legend.
No, you wouldn't want to be his mouse.
Oh, if you've ever shaken Michelle's hand, you'll know that.
He has a joystick. He plays with one of those big, console gaming joysticks.
He doesn't care about anything related to game theory optimal play, does Michelle Anunu, but we saw the way in which he accumulated his chips. We didn't see it on stream, but I've since heard that we may have 6-bet the ace-6 suited versus Corey Van Jaarsveld. Corey calls with the queens, and of course, when you're all in against Michelle Anunu, he always adds that extra 5 and 10%.
Really?
Not only was it an ace-high flop, I'm led to believe the flop was ace-6x with an ace on the turn, leaving Corey drawing dead in that 6-bet pot.
I wonder if anyone knows what Michelle's online name was. That would be interesting to know. I'm sure Didier would
The
know
Israeli Destroyer or something like that.
Well, I was just thinking it'd probably be far. I'd rather play him online if you didn't know. Like, you don't have to look at him. Yeah, it's less intimidating, right?
And the only reason Michelle's here is because when we were on the main event, we were on 2 off the money. Michelle ran an insane bluff with 8 high with that flush draw as Jacques turned top pair. You know, from the memory, the board was King 10-7-3 with a king on the turn, 2 diamonds on the flop, blind v blind. Jacques got the king 4. Michelle calls the flop and jams the turn with 8-4 of diamonds with just an absolute flush draw. Nothing else there, and sent Jacques well into the tank. Jacques had Michelle covered. Michelle drawing pretty thin back then as well. I think we had a few folded diamonds too, but Jacques surprisingly didn't put that one in versus Michelle, who took that one down. And then we were all in with ace-9 versus ace-king. Of course, Michelle 9 in the window and held, and the path to victory for the Goliath champ is now going to be through Michelle Anunu, I believe.
Yeah, you got to get through Michelle. That is for sure. Not much happening in this hand at the moment. Looks like it's folded round to the Michelle on the small blind, and I think Dion's sort of looking at Michelle, saying please limp. Michelle has raised, and unless Dion's got a strong hand, I mean, Michelle's pretty intimidating. I'd just fold it. Michelle stacking those chips up, building that castle with these big hands. Right.
Braden Jinx here with you in the Goliath final table. We've got 8 left now with the elimination of Jacques Ramsden in 9th place for $5,500. You've heard from me and Harvey Silva all week, but joined in guest commentary by Australian Poker Schedule's Craig Abernathy. Did get your comments on the professionalism that you've stood out to you of the APT this week, and you know, look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You are a mate, but you're also a critical. You know, you're keeping these regulators on their toes. We love to see it, and you know, getting praise from you is not easy. And I think that the professionalism here that you think has been on display is a testament to APT. What do you think the future of these live poker operators, especially obviously New South Wales and Queensland, obviously being from Melbourne, we've got nothing down there, but what do you think the future is here? Me and Tony did touch on the cancellation of Topjoy. You know, just none of that's good for Australian poker, and Didn't look like on day one of the grind we were going to hit that guarantee. We ended up smashing it. But what do you think the future of Australian poker is going forward?
Well, I think poker is, obviously you guys touched on it the other day. It's a game of skill first. You know, it's like it's not much. It's not different to sport in that sense. Like it's a game of skill, and I think the biggest problem is that the image of poker. You know, if you just walk down the street and you just speak to any Joe Blow and you mention poker, they think gambling, degenerate. You know, if you say to your family and friends or colleagues at work, I certainly said to the people before, you know, I play poker, and you know, they think, oh, it's sort of a bit of a misled youth, you know, a bit of a degeneracy. You've got a gambling problem, and it's certainly not like that at all. And anyone, most people that are watching this stream would know that because you're all poker players. So I think what we need to do as a community through these operators is have more positive news stories. Certainly things like Topjoy wasn't good for a net positive, the way that worked. I mean, it sort of blew below the mainstream media, which is good, because anything that sort of comes out and gives poker a bad name in the main media is definitely not going to help at all. Obviously, one of the biggest problems you guys mentioned already when I was listening the other night is the name of poker machines being called poker machines when they're nothing to do with poker at all. People associate poker with poker machines, and it's just crazy, in my opinion and many people's opinion, that so many governments and regulators have issues with poker, like we see it now, yet they don't have problems with poker machines.
Now, Craig, you've lobbied against government and legislation in a lot of different areas in relation to poker and gambling. How do you think, how receptive have local governments and legislators been in relation to anything poker related?
No, not very receptive at all, unfortunately.
I feel like you're putting that nicely, maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's basically people that have, you know, bureaucrats. You know, I'm sure they're great people, you know, nice people, but they just don't understand the game. And I think what I'm going to start doing, and it would be good perhaps if there's other people who, is to actually invite some of these people along to a game. And I thought recently, particularly with the Tasmanian issue, they're not allowed to play pub poker at the moment. And, you know, I'd like to actually get some of the people from the Tasmanian Gaming Association and the government to come along to a pub where there's a $50 pub game on, and take $50 and sit down at the poker tournament. And I'm assuming that these government officials haven't played much poker, but I reckon their $50 will last longer in that $50 pub poker tournament with their eyes shut than putting $50 in the poker machines in the next room. So, you know, it's just about showing these people the actual reality, getting them out of the boardrooms and, you know, meeting rooms and out of the wherever else they are, their dinners and fancy lunches and everything like that, and get them into the real world and just show them what poker is. And then you can't deny it. Like, you know, if you actually show people, they have to agree.
So knowledgeable on this topic, Craig. Love having you in here to discuss these topics. So I really just asked you a question off the top of my head there, but the chat's popped off. You know, we're really, there's a lot of people that are wanting to play online poker. A couple of questions here, especially on Twitch. Don't forget, we are on YouTube and Facebook as well. You know, can we still play online in Australia? We legally, you know, definitely is a grey area, legally can't. But if we're going to focus on if that's ever going to get legislated, and the chances of that with the current legislation and the current government in terms of what their policy is in relation to online gaming, we have as much chances of that being regulated as winning an all-in versus dipper, and that's exactly 0%.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of players, you know, our very, 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 very best players are, you know, a lot of online guys you may not know of that don't play live.
I can actually update the viewers as well, coming in the end of this financial year, so the 1st of July, there is another change that affects online gaming, not poker because that's completely outlawed already, but even the sports bet, tats or the lotto, if you play lotto, anything like that, you're no longer allowed to use a credit card at all from the 1st of July. So any operator doing that will be severely fined. You'll have to use, you know, obviously you can use a Visa debit card or other options. And also ruling out crypto completely as well from online gaming in Australia. And that was announced from the Australian ACMA a couple of days ago.
What impact do you think that will have on poker? I don't believe that specific. I think the crypto thing obviously will in the long run, but I think that we see these APT tours, not AP, the Australian Poker Tour, we'll see Asian Poker Tours regulators overseas are taking crypto only as payment. Obviously don't see that happening here, but the credit card law, do you see that impacting anything going forward? I don't.
I don't, not in that sense, but just that's the government's in the way that they're heading. Everything's more and more being restricted. But one thing that I will actually say I'm not a fan of is operators like any of these operators, including APT or APL or WPT League or Kings or any of them, accepting credit card as a payment option, because I think if you want to be in line with the rest of it, certainly if the regulators knew that, just based on the way they're going, if they knew that people could come and buy into a poker tournament with their credit card, they would see that as a big no-no, and that might lead to extra regulation and bring it into the spotlight a bit. So while it could be convenient, I think that might have to change if we're serious about responsible gaming.
Obviously don't want to be, we love working with partners like APL and APO. We saw Joel Williams here, final table at an APT event actually, but just want to touch on very, very, as I might just interject back to the table. Michelle, ace-7 suited, good enough here on ace-10 Jack versus Murray. First Dion, sorry. First Dion, we will get that changed. And he will get that through. But going back to where we were at, we don't want to be critical of any other operators, but just want to have a talk about, a lot of these series getting more players in them that are not allowed to play at casinos through, basically being provided no reasoning as to why they can't play there. And if we see that sort of going forward, do you see, we've got the best players in Australia with absolutely, some have built their entire bankrolls from $0 all the way up to millions and millions, aren't able to play at these huge, big casino series. Do you see that impacting, poker in Australia going forward?
Well, look, that's the thing. It won't affect poker in general because that's all done under the casino side of things. So regulators with the casinos and the casinos itself. So what's happened with those players that have been banned, like Najim, Linsky, Benson, etc. This is done directly by the star. Nothing by the regulators. The government aren't against them. No casino anywhere else in the world is against them. No operators in Australia are against them. If anyone said they've done anything wrong, they could prove them incorrect, because these guys are obviously of, you know, outstanding integrity. So it's actually specifically a ban from the Star.
So what you're saying is an all-round, you know, state issue and legislation issue that's probably not going to affect poker going forward. That's just what their business model is.
No, that's just the Star. They've employed, and they announced it at their AGM last year, they've increased their financial crime team from something like 15 to 87. And the people that they've employed are, you know, very highly qualified from banks and financial markets, and they're experts at this stuff. And you can read the annual report from the Star last year that says that they've employed all these people, all the responsible gaming people as well. So I believe that they've just got over the top with what think they've seen on camera, of someone giving someone $100 or $200 or passing someone a $500 chip, and that's being classified as money loaning. You're not allowed to lend money to anyone in the casino.
There's not a single poker player that hasn't done that in a casino in the history of No Limit Hold'em tournaments.
I mean, if you walk around APT today, you know, people are handing people like $100 or $200 or a few $100. Like, they're not. These people aren't criminals. It's a normal part, you know, in any poker room in the world. And yeah, it's just under the Star rules that they've seen this, and they're choosing to crack down on it and just not ask any questions. Send a letter to the person and say you can't come here, and you've got no right to appeal. So you know, that's all. You know, these players, some of the players are actually taking them on, and I hope they get a good result. But I actually think the most likely thing that's going to happen is that the Star will be bought out by another company, and then none of that will apply, because the new company. Yeah, that's probably the most. That's probably the most likely way these players get unbanned from the casinos in Australia.
You've been instrumental in helping, always in for the plight of the poker player. But just to interject here, I believe we are on a break. We are on a break here, but stick around, because I sat down with Liz Buson, the 80-year-old lady who plays Sudoku every day, went heads up against Dipper last night, satellite in for $180, good for $27,000. From Belgium, grew up in war-torn Belgium, got out here as an immigrant, learned to play poker after Joe Hasham won the main event. Loves poker. She's final tabled the grind twice this year. I sat down with her. Don't go anywhere. This is an amazing chat. Craig Abernathy, thanks for your insights. Thanks for coming in. Love chatting with you about everything, all things poker. And if you want to contact Craig or see what he's up to and see these updates for Australian poker players, it's AustralianPokerSchedule.com and Australian Poker Schedule on Facebook. Thanks very much for joining us.
No worries, and yeah, hopefully see me on the final table soon.
Here we are on day 7 of APT Gold Coast. We're here at the Gold Coast Champs, and what a final table we had last night on the grind. Taken out by Dipper for $45,000, but what is one of the best stories out of this table is Liz Buson, who came second for $27,000 after satelliting in this very room for $180. Now, Liz, this is not even your first final table of the grind this year. I just had a look. You final tabled the grind back in January.
Oh, yeah.
For 8th. You remember that? 8th? And then second today. What was your strategy like going into the final table? How did you come second?
Well, how can I explain that to you? I use my instinct. I study the people around me. I try not to take too many risks. I stay out of the game. I wait until the right cards, but sometimes my instinct tells me I can go for it, do something that I'm not supposed to do because the cards are not really there, but I still do it because I have the feeling that I'm going to get away with it.
Well, I commentated on the entire final table, and what you're telling me is completely true. From the top of my head, you ran 6 massive bluffs, and every time you got your opponent to fold the best hand every single time. If you had ace 5, they had ace 6. If you had queen high, they had ace high. So you must be. What are you looking at?
I'm
Are
a
you
bit
looking?
of a witch.
that makes sense. Some of the stuff that you were doing.
It works with very good player.
Yeah.
Because they are more cautious of what they're gonna do, and a bad player he calls everything.
Yeah.
So also I'm a woman, so a man doesn't.
Don't call as much as they should, do you think?
No, they bully you.
Okay.
But then suddenly I stop and I don't let them bully me anymore, and I'm the opposite then. I'm start to bully them.
Now, I had a little bit of a look at your record. You've been playing poker for some time. I saw an ANZPT trophy back in 2010 in New Zealand.
Yeah, in New Zealand.
For about $15,000. So how long have you been playing for?
I would say Texas Hold'em. In 2003, I had a world ticket at 5 stops around the world. And my dream was to go to Las Vegas. So one of my stops were Las Vegas. And I had 4 days stop. And in 4 days, I think I slept 13 hours because I discovered that Texas Hold'em, that was wonderful.
Amazing.
Wonderful game. I was hooked straight away. Okay, I came back to Australia, of course, because I went first to Europe to see my family. And there was no poker here. So I waited until 2006, but I was always close to poker in here and tried to stay up to date with the poker. And there was no internet like now and nothing, but anyway, it was still in here. And tried to find, can you play with friends or whatever, you know. And then came the World Championship in 2005 in Las Vegas, the World Series of Poker. And that wonderful man, Joe Hashem, from Melbourne, won it, and it was
changed everything.
Unbelievable. Changed the life of the poker, because in Australia didn't exist practically before.
No.
And it's because of him that it happened. He wrote a book.
Yes.
And I wrote that book more than once, straight away about the books. And I was really full of admiration to Joe, and I'm still am.
That is amazing. That is just...
Yeah.
So what I find more incredible than that story is something that we've got your permission to ask you about, is your age.
Oh.
That is...
Okay.
We were stunned when you were heads up last night against Dipper, who's taken the Australian poker community by storm, that you are, in fact, 80 years old.
I just turned 80, yeah.
I'm absolutely stunned.
The day of the woman in the world, you know, the 8th of March, it's the day of the women in the whole world, that date.
International Women's Day.
And that's my birthday, that day.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so you've just turned 80.
Yeah. But I'll tell you a little story about that.
Of course.
When I started to play poker, so in 2006, at that time I didn't look, not even 40.
Barely look 40 now. That's why we were all stunned.
No. Very nice of you to be nice with me, but no. But at that time, anyway, I was young, very young. I'm still young here.
Of course. You
And
still are,
my
obviously.
body is scrambling a bit, but I ignore it, and I keep my mind. That's the most important.
Do you find that poker is keeping your mind sharp when you
Yes,
play
of course,
all the time?
Of course.
Yeah.
Not only, mainly the poker, because that's what I'm focused the most.
Yeah.
But also I do Sudoku.
Of course.
Yeah,
Every day in the
time.
paper?
Oh yeah, no, I have a book. When it's full, another book.
And what are your plans going to be from now on? Are you going to keep playing? Are you going to go anywhere to play?
Until I kick the bucket.
You are unbelievable.
But before, when I was playing poker, so in Cairns, of course, for years, and nobody knew my age. I always hid my age, and nobody imagined that I was much older than them.
No.
And I was feeling ashamed to be older, you know. And it's only now, since I am 80, that I am proud of myself, instead of being ashamed of being old and nobody has to know.
Yeah.
See, I changed my attitude completely, and that makes me feel happier.
Unbelievable. What I'm speechless. I was speechless at some of the bluffs that you ran last night, which were just incredible. You got everyone to fold a better hand. It's amazing to hear your story, your age, how long you've been playing for, how you started playing. You're an inspiration, to say the absolute least, to be able to come here and go heads up at the age of 80.
But I am with my motorhome because I am a grey nomad. And I'm traveling around.
My God, we could sit here and talk about that for another.
So many more things to tell you.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us and telling us that just incredible story at the age of 80 years old, going heads up against Dipper in the grind. You final tabled it back in January. You just have an incredible story. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. Hope to see you on more final tables for the rest of the year.
I hope so.
All right.
And I will change my strategy.
Of course you will. See, that's why you keep making...
now everybody knows, so...
That's why you keep making final tables. It's so clever. So thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
play is the Gold Coast Champs main event, 150k guaranteed. Out of 125 entries, only 16 have bagged through to day 2. Our final flights are tonight, Friday at 5 p.m, and tomorrow, Saturday night, also at 5 p.m. $600 buy-in. Get yourselves in with a shout for the 150k prize pool.
I defend a big blind just last hand. I remember. I defend a big blind.
In your check raising, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would be.
You will be small blind. You're a big blind.
No. If that's true, I was.
It is true.
Nah, you went under the gun.
You were big blind.
No, he was under the gun. I defended big blind.
No, there was another hand.
Zero?
There was another hand. There was another hand. Sorry.
You were big blind.
There was another hand. Yes.
You're not small blind.
Now they're agreeing.
Oh, there was
right?
another. Was there another hand?
There was. I forgot about it.
I am being told the button's correct, guys.
Yeah. Sorry.
Fuck, helps me. It would have been beautiful.
That was all I was thinking about. Sorry. I was like, that must have been.
Because he said you're going on a break, and he said this hand while you had your big blind.
Yeah. All I remember was him check raising. And I was so upset that I forgot about the other hand.
I don't need the whole stuff. Don't take it from me. I will.
Hope you don't hold a grudge.
You might hold a grudge after you see what I hold.
I don't hold grudges, right? Not against you, Tom. You're a chip leader. You do some work.
I'm trying, but you keep check raising me.
Sorry, not me. Not on my big line. Someone else's. Like his. Or his.
You're right? You're good.
I'm good, yeah.
Alright, gentlemen, well, back to the break. Blind levels matched at 12,000, 24,000, with a 24,000 big blind empty. Public in 6-1. Sailor, when you're ready, main shuffle up and deal. Best of luck.
We're back here. Final table of the Goliath, 12k, 24, 24k. And what about Liz Buson? I just stepped out of the booth to grab a quick bite to eat. I've come back to some amazing feedback about Liz. They love her. You know, I sat down with Liz, and you know that interview went for around 8 minutes, but it could have gone for 80. We sat there for ages just talking about poker, and oh, what an interview that was.
1 fold. Sorry, 9 fold.
She could definitely write a book about her life coming out from Belgium. Goodness me, she's an ANZ PT trophy winner back in 2010 in New Zealand. Final tabled the grind in January and ran second to Dipper in the grind. Dipper's been an unstoppable force this week at APT, but Liz really took it up to her, and I mentioned to Liz in the interview, 6 bluffs on that final table, final 2 tables. Generated 6 faults, got through every single time. Her value got paid, she was picking good combos. Yes, some of the plays definitely on the unconventional side. Let's not beat around the bush, but goodness me. She wasn't waiting around. She would put every single player there in an unbelievable spot. Who could forget the ace-8 suited jam versus Anya? Put her in that horrendous spot. Ended up getting 9s to fold, but who can also forget when Pricey had King-Jack on Jack 10-7 and Queen-8 suited backdoor spades was good enough for a 6x pot jam into Pricey and got him to fold King-Jack. That changed the tournament. And that was good enough. Satellited in for $180 all the way to $27,000. We'll be playing that interview with Liz throughout the rest of the week. We'll be here right until the culmination of the main event on Sunday night, the Gold Coast Championship. So we do have a hand developing here, +1 and +2. Matty Gin. Obviously, you're all going to know that we were a bit excited last night when Anya was making all those plays, and Matty Gin here. I remain as unbiased as possible, of course, as most of you know, he's my best mate. Love seeing him take these spots here, and he's come up with the goods versus Ahmed. And what about Ahmed? You don't know much about Ahmed. Was trying to get some info in the chat from the fellas. See if we could get any stories on Ahmed or anything, but we since found out he's the victor of the 5K, the Victorian Poker Championships back in 27, and he already has an APT trophy for 11K, does Ahmed, and I've been really impressed with Ahmed's play, actually. You know, shown he's not afraid, and he was very short on the bubble, 300K, up well over 1.1 million now. Braden Jinx here with you live, bringing this to you on the half an hour delay, as Harvey Silver's mentioned. You know, I commentate this to you as you see it. We're in a locked, very, very dark room out the back.
9 folds. How much? 48,000.
It's Matty Gin, just going to feel the King Queen here is good enough under the gun. Now, of course, Tom Maguire running the flag of Kazakhstan. As I said, I don't want to stereotype anyone, but we can have a good look at Tom Maguire and see that the man in seat 2 probably likely is not from Kazakhstan, so that flag next to his name appears to be somewhat of a troll. So Ray just folds the ace-jack here. Goodness me. Wow. You know, if we don't feel like we're good there, we could opt for the 3-bet fold. Ray's such an experienced player, the winner of the APT mini-main and main event, and who could forget that APL Millions victory of 350,000. Just folding ace-jack there versus Matty. Yeah, really interesting spot that is. Ray's known to take these spots regularly, and we saw the 4-bet with the King 10 suited on the second hand of this final table. Just bidding the ace-jack there. Some big notables here. If you're just rejoining us after the break, of course. Lachlan Crilly, professional from Adelaide. Former entrepreneur, run his business, decided to give poker a crack, and what a decisions that's proven to be as he wakes up here with ace-jack, +1. Crilly got a really nice 3-bet there through prior to the break versus Matty Gin. Open ace-10, and you know, King Jack was good enough for the 3-bet, generated that fold from ace-10. You know, we won't see Crilly pass on too many of these spots. It's Dion. Dion's certainly mixing things up here a little with the Queen 9-0. I think that Dion's shown it's recreational here, as under the gun he limped before with the 2s and the Queen Jack, and now here he's definitely accumulated these chips. This is the way he's accumulated them. Queen 9-0 here is really loose, but we're going to see a flop. We love this. Let's see how Crilly proceeds here. These graphics are absolutely definitely wrong. Don't worry about that. These race sizes are definitely incorrect, but hopefully Murray has not called off half of his stack with Queen 9-0 pre. I have a feeling that Lockie's raised here and Dion's called out of the small blind. These stacks are wrong. Don't worry about that. There's not 1 million chips in the pot. We'll fix that up for you guys. What about that chat with Craig Abernathy prior to the break? Really vocal in the poker community. The owner of Australian Poker Schedule. Love that timeline on Craig's side, actually. You don't know where you're going next. It can be a hectic thing traveling around professionally, playing all these live series. And that timeline there for Craig as Dion comes with raise on King 5 Deuce with Queen 9. You know, I think if we're going to choose the Queen 9 to call here, I mean, we've got to do something post. You know, we can't just call and check fold some boards. Maybe this isn't the one, but, you know, we might be starting to realise how Dion's accumulated this monster stack here at the Goliath. You know, Krilly's not going to like this with ICM. I feel like folding is definitely on Krilly's mind. These stacks aren't right. Don't worry about it. But Krilly's just got to fold that. And once he sees that hand, I'm not sure how Krilly's going to feel. As these stacks are wrong, we're just going to fix these for you now.
One raise, 50,000. Two fold. Four fold. Five fold. Six fold. Seven fold.
So we've got a hand developing here. Matty Jean comes with call.
Check.
It's about as good as the flop you'd hope for with ace-4 suited in +1 at a final table. We've got that backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw working for us, and a lot of equity to continue. Yeah, the flop Matt would be looking for with his specific hand, and we'll see him put that one in the bin. Just going back to our chat with Craig Abernathy. Some very strong opinions regarding the state of Australian poker, and especially online poker. These legislators really hard to deal with, and you know, forces a lot of players to hit the live circuit, move overseas to continue their profession. Obviously, we all know that there are ways to, you know, play on these sites at times, but you know, in the long run, it does affect poker. And Craig always been the voice for the poker player, always lobbying against legislators and state government.
One raise, 50,000.
Hard task. Don't, as he mentioned, they're not really open to a lot, especially down in Melbourne. How good was that to hear from Tony Hashem? Looking at potentially running a series in which, you know, we only just win satellite tickets and, you know, flights and accommodation just to get around how those rules work. But, you know, Tony Hashem and Joe Hashem, long-running relationship with the Victorian government, with his All In for Poker charity and the Shane Warne Foundation. A lot of those poker charity events, I've attended a few myself. Fantastic, and using that relationship there to potentially bring a series or two down to Melbourne. How incredible would that be? And, you know, plans for that include things like, you know, registering an event potentially for a Goliath seat and a package. You know, maybe it's a 5K package with a seat, flights and accommodation, and, you know, that gets around that rule that stops us playing in Melbourne. So I'm going to try really hard to get these stacks fixed for you, but it is automated. I don't want to harp on it, but Lachlan Crilly operating with about 600K, not 200. Just getting a lot of love and feedback regarding the interview with Liz. Completely and utterly carried me through that. What a star of Australian poker. 80, yes, 80 years old. Playing Sudoku every day keeps that mind sharp, and to keep it even sharper,
Two folds.
flicking in 1Ks against the best in Australia, and the only thing between her and a grind trophy was Dipper. Dion's shown a propensity to really get amongst it. You saw that Queen-9 hand there prior. Lockie's not going to like that bluff when he sees it, but he doesn't have as many chips as you'll see as Matty Gin wakes up with queens on the button.
Yeah, it's kind of 7 days. Like, doesn't really get you. It's kind of break even. Sort of thing. One fold. That was it. You? No, swinging and missing the whole week, really.
You know, what about Liz? You know, immigrant out from Belgium. I'm not sure. You know, we spoke for so long and we wanted to get an interview that we could bring to you during the break, but traveling around in her van, that's how she lives. Sudoku every day, poker at night, 80 years old. 2 grind final tables. 2 grind final tables. I dead set would have played the grind 10 to 15, maybe even 20 times in my life and never cashed it once. And here we are looking at Liz. 2 final tables this year from 2 attempts, and second. You know, what I felt from Liz was that the mind was very sharp.
One fold. Heads up.
And we could see that when she was playing, and she knows, you know, she knows that some of these plays that she was coming up with out of thin air were definitely unconventional, but she doesn't care. She ran bluffs left, right and centre, always getting her opponent to fold the best hand as Matty Gin flops top set here.
It's not the worst.
You know, and I feel like Ray, once we float this flop, really have to continue in some capacity. Maybe we were looking to a spade to be able to continue, but maybe on this 8 of diamonds too, Ray thinks he might have to stick around. He's definitely a sticky player, but maybe he was just looking for that spade with a backdoor float versus that small size. There wasn't enough to continue, and Matty Gin will take down a nice one there. Really working hard to get these stacks fixed. There's no way Lucky Crilly has 200k. Oh God, the love for this keeps on coming. Remember, you can find us on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube.
I'm the big one. Yeah, fuck. You're under the gun.
The Facebook chat's really popped off in the last couple of days. We're looking at a bit more on Twitch today too, which is great. A lot of love for Australian poker here, and we get to tune into the likes of Ray Wang, Michelle Anunu, Matty Gin. All fight out the $45,000 first prizes. Josh Goldsmith moves all in with pocket fives.
fold. 8 fold. $245.
Now, Krilly's got more of a decision here than you think. He's obviously always ripping the ace-queen, but he doesn't have 10 big blinds. He's got way more. He's got around 25. Working hard to get these stacks fixed, as I said, and we're off to the races here.
Big flip, let's go. Come on.
Now, Krilly is not at risk. I want to repeat that. I think this is for around Krilly's stack. We're just working hard on those graphics. That should be fixed in about 15 to 20 minutes, as we are on delay. But Lachlan Krilly is definitely all in, and we'll take you to Alex Hansen, the TD, to take us through the hand.
Lachlan Krilly is ace queen. Josh is at risk.
Yeah, cheers.
Sorry, it's Brian Wynn, but
Flops, 2 clubs, 6 of diamonds, 8 spades.
nothing there for Lachlan Krilly. The Brisbane professional's looking for an ace or a queen, but he doesn't know. He's drawing very thin.
Turns the jack.
We take into account the folded cards in our all-ins now, and Krilly's down to 3 outs and 3 outs only. He's in worse shape than he thinks. And Josh will double up.
Let me know what they think of that roll.
Josh does double up.
Oh, were you looking at the chat?
They berated me for my fold against him.
Yeah, they were calling you Josh Goldsmith.
Goldsmith. Nah, I know those guys. They're alright. It's true though.
Josh doubling up there, former winner of the Goliath. Just shooting into the table chat there. The chat was really popping off when we 3-bet folded the jacks there versus Krilly's ace-king. A lot of opinions on that hand, and bit of a dig there from Josh to me, I think. But that's definitely fair enough. He's chosen to fold, and he's still left in the tournament. But there was one comment there in the chat that I believed I didn't want to read back out to the viewers, but I've just found out that was one of Josh's best mates, and I feel like I could run with it after that hand. They were mentioning, they were calling him Josh Foldsmith. We obviously don't want to speak ill of anyone, but we know now that these are Josh's mates, giving him a bit of stick in the chat. So love the support in the chat, but it's definitely Josh Goldsmith, not Josh Foldsmith, as he put the pocket fives in there and won the flip.
What'd you have?
6 folds.
Matty Jean's picking up some premiums here. Pocket queens, top set, ace king suited.
King queen.
Jack. Queen 10. I was going to call you Queen 10. I was so tempted.
After that.
I was so tempted.
Should have done it. 9 folds. 1 fold. 2 folds. What are you doing down there? How much is that? 48. Let's got these. Fuck me. Fold. Yeah. 4 folds.
Just to all players on the table, just a reminder about the language on the table, guys. That's the best thing.
That was backwards, didn't it? Yeah, I think so.
Some of the children.
Tell you what, look how much love we've got for Liz. I know, if you don't believe me or not, I can prove you. I can show the text message. I might even get it somehow on screen. But my 95-year-old grandmother, who's I didn't know was a viewer, tuned in to watch Liz there and asked me how Dipper went. My 95-year-old grandmother more interested in how Dipper's going in tournaments than her own grandson. Yes, we did lose to Dipper heads up. You know, I was talking before about even Anya's run last night. Her sister and partner there, no idea about poker, on the edge of their seat supporting Anya. Really love to try and amalgamate the types of viewerships that we want to bring together, and we've got a lot of poker players that understand the game and a lot of people that don't know what they're looking at, trying to bring you coverage that fits both parties. And I was unaware my 95-year-old name was a viewer, but lovely to know that more interested than Dipper than me. There's the text there. Oh, I know Dipper. How did he go? Thanks, Nan.
Five checks. 6 checks.
Dion's just flop bottom set on Queen Jack. We don't want to. If we see a 10 here, if we saw a 10 on the turn of the river, it would be beyond carnage.
5 checks.
Checking behind here with bottom set on this type of boards. Certainly on the unconventional side of No Limit Hold'em, but maybe just looking to check for deception. Not something we tend to do with bottom set, but Dion's accumulated this monstrous stack. I reckon Michelle might peel this size, and a 10 on the river would... A 10 on the river would be something else. Michelle goes with call. About a 4-side diamond in the river to spice things up. No, it is a straight completer, but it is the 4 of clubs. It's just a matter of what size we'll go here. If we're Dion, he's having a think. It looks like half pot. I do think those stacks have updated correctly now. Lockie Crilly back to 450, and it just takes a little bit of time to those stacks updated. Braden Jinx here with you on commentating for the Goliath final table. 8 left. We're in for a long one. The voice is starting to rattle, but doing our best in here. We had Craig Abernathy. We're looking to get a few more guest commentators in over the weekend, and what great insights Craig had into the game. Tony Hashem we had here on Wednesday night. His plans for the APT moving forward were interesting. Matty Gin, we got up here for an hour or so. Love hearing Matty's insight into mixed games and poker-related businesses. Such a smart individual. You know, you'd call Matty a semi-professional, but he's just as good to mix it with the best. And
1 fold. 2 folds.
we're trying to get Liam Murray up here. What a run Liam's been on recently. It has been me and Harvey with you for a majority of the time, and we'll be here until the culmination of the main event
4 re-raise all in. 5 folds.
on Sunday night at the Gold Coast Championships.
9 folds.
Ah, it's all good. I fucking. Oh, sorry. I called Roll. I said Roland before, and you didn't listen to me. You're off like staring out in the distance. Yeah.
Shout out to Lucho Vargas, defeating Dos heads up in the PKO. Lucho takes home $6,841 for his victory in the PKO. Lucho, regular on the Australian poker scene, defeating Daniel O'Shea heads up.
2 folds.
What about the story of the women here at APT?
4 folds.
Probably 12.5% of our entries, but we're looking at about 35% of those have won an event. 35% of the event winners have been female. 7 trophy winners to the girls this series. Unbelievable, and it was probably just a flip away from being 8. Just imagine 5 left. Either Anya or Liz could have easily taken down the grind, and that would have given us 8 winners and a major event winner to all females. Amazing turnout here at APT. Just touching on Tony Hasham's idea to try and get more women into the game. Those 3 ambassadors, how incredible are they going to be for Australian poker and Australian Poker Tour specifically? Anya, all the way from those back card rooms in Russia, APT ambassador now. Sheridan Hall started out here as a dealer. Sheridan quite popular across the Australian poker scene. And what about none other than Jade Crusher Mitchell? 13 trophies, 5 APT trophies. Couldn't find a better ambassador for females in poker, and I just love talking to Jade. That interview will be airing on the socials over the next couple of months, and even just talking to Jade outside of poker. Such a supportive family, single mother, 14-year-old son, and she's just doing all she can. Absolutely whipping us at the table. Talking to Jade was really interesting. We've all got different motivations to play, and she really has that. She really uses a chip on her shoulder as an advantage. You know, as a single mother, you often feel like it's you against the world. You know, something that's very close to my heart, being raised by an incredible single mum. And Jade, what an amazing job she's done. And you know, when you've got that killer attitude, and you apply that to No Limit Hold'em, there's no wonder every time Jade's on a final table, she's got monstrous stacks. Pummels her opponents into oblivion. But just imagine if Pocket 9s holds versus Alex Linsky's Pocket 8s. She would have been a Goliath champion. In this very event would have beat Alex Linsky, probably our greatest ever export, besides Michael Adamo and Joe Hasham. Beating Alex Linsky heads up would have been one of the great moments of her life, but sometimes the Pocket 9s don't hold versus the Pocket 8s. Still an amazing story anyway, and the APT, unbelievable stuff. So Matty Gin's out, flop Josh here. It's the board we look to attack a lot, especially with this hand, but we'll see a check.
4 checks.
Require a fair bit of protection here if we're Matty Gin. We might see a lead. I'd be surprised if we didn't. We go over hands together so regularly. We do. Love this. Love this. Love that it's not one ear and out the other when we speak. He's such a great... He's becoming a really great player, Matty. And I know we've got a pretty standard lead there, but Jack Star and Centurion champion at APL, and nearly a 3-time APL champion, just losing heads up there in the 1K mixed game. I have a feeling that, you know, he's a big mixed game cash player, is Matty Gin. You'll see Matty Gin in those big cash games too. Really starting to focus on No Limit Hold'em tournaments, and hasn't he shown a propensity for victory? Couple of major wins, some big runs in big events. It's getting a lot of good distribution here, but that's what we need at these final tables. I'm starting to wonder. I have a feeling something I might have just picked up here off the top of my head. Has every player on this table won an APT trophy previously? Not sure if Dion has, but I know Michelle won the main event, and of course Lachlan Crilly has done so too. But I know for a fact, speaking personally with Matty Gin, that APT trophy's eluded Matty. Won a trophy at basically every other regulator over a significant period of time in the last 18 to 24 months. But that APT trophy's eluded him. This would be the premier event. Imagine your first APT trophy being the Goliath. As thankfully for viewers, you're not going to have to listen to me yap on for the rest of the night as I welcome back Harvey Silver into the booth. Harvey,
Collingwood.
They don't want to hear from me.
How about those Pies?
Robbery. Robbery. I suppose you heard what happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know any details. I don't know any. Haven't seen any footage.
Well, you will see something. I've been watching AFL footy for 45 years, and you'll see something tomorrow that I have never seen in 45 years of AFL footy. And
you're visibly distressed.
I am visibly distressed.
I can see it in your face.
They were 25 points in front with 12 minutes left. Anyway, I'm a big Collingwood supporter. Jinxie, you're an AFL man.
Yes.
There's a ball up 15 metres out from Fremantle's goal. And the young Collingwood player gave the ball to Nick Dacos, and Nick Dacos gave it to the umpire, and the umpire gave Freo a free kick for not giving the ball directly to the umpire. So I've never seen that in 45 years of watching AFL football, from which they kicked a goal.
Wow, goodness me. I did hear that there was a lot of controversy. I haven't seen the footage.
Yeah. Anyway,
and,
we're moving on because...
No, I need to see this. This is unbelievable.
Yeah. So...
You look visibly upset. I haven't seen you like this.
Look, they were actually lucky to win in the end. Freo missed a shot with 20 seconds left. So, it's a draw, I should say. Anyway, this... I haven't just been watching the footy. I've been online listening to you guys. And certainly heard you talking about Lockie.
Apologies.
That's all right. He's watching it back. I shouldn't have said anything. It was there. That was it. Oh no, he took the mark there. It was way earlier than that. It was about 8 minutes left, I think. Anyway, I'm sure a lot of our viewers aren't necessarily AFL fans, or
most probably aren't actually.
But
in Sunshine State.
Anyway, the end result of that is Collingwood's drawn their second game for the season. And you normally have... You're lucky if you have one draw in the whole season of AFL. We've now had 3. It's like
2 from the same side.
That's wow. Well, I suppose they're going to draw enough games. If they keep having games where there's one goal or less between the two teams in every game, eventually you're going to start having some draws. So...
Thanks for that, Brad. Just correcting me there. We may have an APT trophy from everyone on this final table. Matty is the winner of the poker shop, but being a winner of the APL Jack Star and Centurion, that major trophy from APT eludes him. You know, the grind, the main event, and the Goliath. Matty Gin does play for victory, and he does look to play well. But thanks for that, Brad. He did win the poker shop in Adelaide for $4,500. You know, our close group of mates. As I mentioned on stream yesterday, Harvey, we us Victorians have had to stick together in the last couple of years. No real choices for us, and no real choices for us on the poker scene. So we're all quite close. And Matty G won the poker shop there, and Simon Chaheen, the series later, also winning the poker shop. So that major tournament victory at the APT still eludes Matty G. And he's really running well here and playing well, and hopefully this can be brought up as we. See hand developing here, but
nice,
go ahead.
Nice run out there for Ray, the king and the ace.
100,000, 6 votes.
And
we might have been wrong about no one that's watching is a AFL supporter. There's a bit of hate for Collingwood in the chat, Harvey.
We expect that too, but I'm actually not even complaining, about it's not a free kick. It was just that decision, like to do that at that stage in a match, and it was a very experienced umpire. It was the bald guy that everybody knows, except I don't remember his name. But that was wild. Like, I've watched a lot of footy. I'm a big AFL follower, and my WhatsApp chat, everybody hates Collingwood in my WhatsApp chat. And everyone just went, what the hell was that? Like, never ever seen that before.
Pretty good effort from the Pies. how many players under 3 games was that, or 4 games?
Yeah, and it probably cost them in the end. They went into that shutdown mode that they're so good at, but they just had, got half a dozen blokes who played less than 10 games, and they just couldn't quite execute it. Cox was off injured as well, and then Myercheck looks like he's injured his hammy again, so he was off. Good game though. Biggest ever crowd at a Freo game outside of the derby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Freo up and about.
I reckon Ray's on exactly the same amount of chips he was when I got up 2 hours ago. There you go, Brad. He says it happened in the Swans game. There you go.
Didn't result in a goal.
Didn't result in a goal. I suppose that maybe that's why it's so highlighted. But I honestly had never seen... I mean, I've seen players like leave the ball on the ground and not give it back to the umpire and all of that stuff and never get penalised. It wasn't a time wasting thing. You just gave it to Nick Dacos and he gave it straight to the umpire. It wasn't, it didn't waste any time. But I suppose in the letter of the law, it probably says the player must give the ball back to the umpire and. Again, wild. Was a great game. It was, God, why do they have to do this to us every single week?
Yeah, thanks for chiming in, Brad. Just let us know if that decision cost you your 28-leg 50-cent multi that you're flicking on every game. Got some interacting hand strengths here, but... It is Friday night, but I'm just letting you know we're going to be in for a long one.
Yeah, I thought this was going to start to be a bit more conventional than what we've seen in the last couple of final tables. Have you spoken about Tony Hasham at all on the stream?
I mentioned that we had a stone bubble, a player that stone bubbled, and his name was Tony.
Well, it was him, and I just saw him as I was coming back with my head down, and his head was further down. He's taken 2 hours to calm down from his what he said was an absolute shocker of a bad beat on the bubble of this event. Apparently his opponent hit an ace on the river to make a straight. Tony was ahead all the way through, so very passionate poker player and just wants to get on a final table. He's bubbled, I think, all 3 events he's played. He's just bubbled.
Soft bubbled the grind. He was 2 off the money in the grind. He stone bubbled. He stone bubbled the Goliath, and he might have had a deep run in the Players' Champs potentially.
Yep.
So did he repeat the hand?
I couldn't make any sense of what he was saying. He was just dribbling out the side of his mouth. He was pretty upset. Even 2 hours later, I was pretty upset.
There's such a disparity of
2 goals. Go down, pair of 4s.
those
pair of 6s will beat
those emotions in the game. You've got people like, you look at the extremes. Gary Lynn, he could flick a 50k tournament in and bust and just walk over and play the $350 self-dealt. I'm certainly known. It takes me a long time to get over. I'm so competitive and passionate, and it takes me a long time to get over some of them. And certainly seeing Tony bubble the grind, I didn't want to approach him for a couple of hours, but it's just the different personality types that poker brings together. And what I've found actually is a lot of people from background, like myself, a sporting background, a competitive background, have different reactions to someone like Gary Lynn, who's got a chess background. Charles Sy, an APT main event winner, a chess background. I've never seen him react to any emotion in anything ever in his life, especially poker, and it just gets a bad beat, turns around and walks away, and it's probably the way to be. But sometimes our personality types, especially when we're playing regularly all the time, always creep into playing. And that gaming background, that gaming background where, like, for example, Bert Perry,
Australia's best ranked player currently. You know, bad beats are nothing for Bert. He just gets on and moves on to the next one. And then you look at players like Tony, such an accomplished player, but competitive beasts, they get to him.
Yeah, very much so. I've got a little bit of a theory on, you know, how your background and you know, what you were attracted to as a kid, then having a pretty big influence as you get older and, you know, move into adulthood. I think kids have sort of two ways to go. I'm a lot older than you, but my childhood, I played a lot of pinball and you know, amusement machines and all that sort of stuff. And that's all about sort of beating the machine. It wasn't about beating somebody else. And then there's, you know, a lot of kids that, you know, played board games and backgammon and chess. And I suppose, you know, now have moved into that gaming area where you're very much, you know, taking somebody on. And I find that maybe us guys who, I'm trying to put this in a nice way, try to beat the system and beat the machine, we don't mind to have a bit of a punt, and we don't mind to, you know...
Not wrong.
Because you're trying to beat the system there too. You're not just trying to beat your mate, you're trying to beat the bookie, and you're trying to beat the, you know, the odds and all of that. So, and then, you know, to the kids who grew up with more the strategic sort of, you know, the chess stuff and the Monopoly and the, you know, and then went into gaming, are they more into just beating their mate and being the best at...
Your point is so relevant because I know that Bert Perry, for example, is the best board game player in... I don't know a game that anyone could beat him in, and he's such a good strategic thinker, and I know the reason he ended up wanting to play poker professionally was he couldn't believe that there was a game that you could play for money. He just looked at poker as a game and every decision's in isolation. And, you know, I have played some board games with Bert, and they've walked out with the tail between my legs. He introduced a game to me last week, which was in some type of language I didn't understand, and it was over in a couple of minutes. But you know, your point's so relevant. That personality type, that brain type, is so attractive to the professional poker lifestyle. Is so attractive to those types, and you know how many of our great players, for example. You know, Michael Adamo, his feats in chess were well renowned before he became the best player in the world. Right from here, not here, but right from in Melbourne, where you and I are from, Harvey, and he came from chess. So have a lot of other players. You know, it's such an interesting discussion. The amount of, you know, I just mentioned Charles Sy before, an APT main event winner, is a FIDE master. I think. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I think that's the third highest ranking you can be in the world. And I know that if Charles didn't take up poker, he would have been close to being a grandmaster, I believe. But Yida Chung, you know, amazing results Yida's had. Third in the WSOP Millionaire Maker main event, I believe. Yida is also around a FIDE master as well. And so many chess players with these great chess exploits are... have crossed over to poker, and you know, not a lot of money in chess, and there's another strategic game they can play for millions of dollars. It's no wonder why they come across and play.
When you are around this community a lot, do you think that a lot of the players are also punters? Are they, you know, are they people who follow the races and, you know, bet on the sports and all that sort of stuff, or do they tend to use their money for the more strategic?
I reckon it. I think it's separate. For example, you know, I think a lot of those strategic level thinkers are always thinking about EV, and you know, if they don't see any value in the bet that they're placing, i.e., you know, handing money over the counter to put a bet on or play a tournament, you know, they're not going to do it. But there is that other type, which is definitely myself. Born into a racing family, and you know, worked at the races for a very long time. And my uncles and everyone were jockeys and whatnot. You wouldn't think it looking at me, but you know, there's that different personality type where you love a punt and you can actually go and flick in a 1K or a 2.5K, and and play to like the best of your ability, but you just don't have that strategic. You're trying to apply that strategic mindset, but you'd be kidding yourself if I thought that. You'd be kidding yourself if I thought that you'd be on the level of your Charles Size and Yida Chung's, Michael Adamos in terms of strategy thinking. If you're just thinking you're having a punt on the horses and whatnot, so I do think it's very different, as we do have a collision here.
So Michelle way behind here with the ace-4, with his tournament at risk.
Market players, we do have an all-in call in Goliath. Michelle's ace-4 versus Emma's ace-10. Michelle is at risk.
Michelle's run very well in these spots. He doubled up with ace-9 versus ace-king, got that 8-high flush draw through, but with I was saying it as a flop came out.
So he's got to fade a 10 here to stay alive.
10. Bring a 10.
He's now got an 8 as well as an out. 8 or a 10.
It's Michelle. He's not coming.
And it didn't, so he does a dip up and stays alive. Wow. I was commentating with you when that ace-9 beat the ace-king, and
You're welcome, son.
sit down, and he's doing it again.
He knows it too. He loves it, Michelle. Competitive beast he is.
I will say one thing just to finish that conversation. We're at a club here with 1 million poker machines, and I don't think I've seen a player in there playing the pokies. So it's interesting that one of our players, and I don't play the pokies, I hate them, but the way the joint's set up here late at night, it's the only place you can get a drink is in the poker room, so the pokies room.
Pokies, yep.
It's one of the worst things for poker is that those things are called poker machines. I hate that.
Did you listen to Craig Abernathy?
No.
He word for word.
Really?
Yeah, you literally word for word said the exact same thing as what you just said then.
The impression people have of our game is so damaged by the fact that those things are called poker machines. But yeah, that's the only place you can get a drink late. I haven't seen. Oh, look, not in there much, but I haven't seen a Australian Poker Tour player in there playing the pokey. So it is, interesting if they really love this strategic side of the game and not the gamble, not the punt. Brad's come in here in the chat. Sports betting is for mugs. You'd have a lot of people who agree with you, I can tell you that.
Knowing Brad personally seems to be quite shocking. He said that, to be honest. Doesn't mind a punt, does Brad?
I don't think he was saying that he's not a mug. He's just saying that it is for mugs.
Of course, Brad, a former harness racing driver. So we can't say that you haven't had a bet or two. Maybe pulled one up back in the day. But no, that definitely didn't happen. But I think that, I will say I've agreed for sure with your point at this series, but the APL Millions, that pokey machine at times in August, you can't get a seat. Actually can't get a seat.
I mean, it's
I haven't seen anyone down there either. I would go down there to get Italian, and I don't see anyone. So, but it's just something about, it might be good to switch the brain off or whatever. But I need to be. If I'm, for example, if I'm having a bet on a horse or something, I feel like I've got an opinion, and I'm going to back my opinion against the bookie. Now, market percentages are really, really small, and the edges in sport, I'm not sure, I'm not a sports bettor, but the edges in racing are very small when we're dealing with really big market percentages, and but we're still every now and then going to think that if we like something I'm using my opinion. For example, a pokey machine, something about just sitting there putting something in and just watching it spin round, probably not for the thinker that wants to put their money in a position for positive EV, and we know that as you said, there's not many poker players that have been down there this series, but definitely each to their own, and
well, as we've got in the chat here, trying to beat the Matrix. I mean, that's sort of what I was saying, and I grew up with that. I mean, no one plays pinball machines now, but you know, back in my day, that's what you know, the whole amusement parlour was full of pinball machines, and I just loved, because there was a skill element. Obviously, I mean, you had to be good at it, but you know, you weren't playing two players and trying to beat your mate. You were trying to get a free game or trying to get a high score, or you know, so you're trying to, as I say, beat the matrix. And I just think it's interesting how you were brought up. If you sort of played those sort of you against the machine or you against the odds, if you like, as opposed to, you know, you taking on someone in chess or in a board game or in, you know, now in gaming as well. It's a different psychology. And but gaming now has sort of crossed into that area too, where
for sure.
you're now, well, gaming and poker are so similar now, aren't they? You know, the people are making so much money, you know, in gaming when you get so good at that, and sponsored, and you know, teams, and you know, there's a merging of these two things.
Absolutely, and you know, thanks for Brad helping us out in the chat. Just more to the point that I was mentioning there, that you know, even though if we do like a team, the price isn't often there. Bookies are so sharp these days. I've found that in racing. I've been in racing all my life. And my first bet was on Might and Power in the Caulfield Cup in 1996. I think I was 5 years old. That might have been Mum's fault. But, you know, seeing those market percentages dwindle over time is very hard to find a price on your selected runner, and they're just so good. Their algorithms are amazing. Every now and then one will slip through the cracks, but, you know, there's...
Yeah, my racing philosophy is, and I actually love watching the races. I love the animals, and I love the, you know, I actually love the pageantry, you know, of it. I love the courage of the jockeys. People don't understand how dangerous, you know, it is what they do, but my betting philosophy in racing is, if you see something shortening quickly, get on it.
Get on, absolutely.
Because the trainer knows and the jockey knows.
I'm telling you what, I'm not sure I'm speaking out of school here.
Oh, you aren't. Everyone knows.
The market. If you see a market mover for a horse under $5 in Queensland racing, in anywhere from Toowoomba down to the Gold Coast and Brisbane, get on, because there seems to be something in the moment that I've noticed in these Queensland markets that those betting moves don't often miss. I'm not sure if there's anything nefarious going on there, but they basically never miss.
I think the trainer knows, and the trainer, you know, tells, you know, someone. And I mean, I don't think it's as sinister as people might want to make out, even though I'm sure I did overhear a trainer once say, "A jockey, not today, thanks, mate." So,
I've got some great stories. I've got some great stories from my uncle, champion apprentice back in the day, and you know, that's back in the 70s and 80s, where they really just used to be fairly open about, you know, not today's not our day. Maybe just put this one out the back, but
and it's produced, you know, some of the greatest stories ever. You know, great stories of achievement, but also some of the dumbest crap you've ever. That bold personality, Fine Cotton scandal is honestly one of the stupidest. You were never going to get caught. We painted the horse's hooves to make it look like the other horse.
There's so much to that story that people don't know as well. There's a great book.
Yes, I've read it.
There's a great book. Andrew Rule potentially wrote that.
I think it was Andrew Rule.
Yes, one of the great racing. It's one of the great sports books, actually. If you're interested there, go have a read. I think maybe the trainer of Fine Cotton recently, Hayden Aitana, may have passed away. I read in the news. But anyway, we've talked a lot about that.
We'll go back on the detail. Anyway, it's just an interesting, you know, for me it's interesting because, you know, I see this game as so strategic. You know, you need to really study and know what you're doing here. Feel is one thing, and we saw something last night which was pretty crazy with a 80-year-old woman, you know, getting through to heads up, playing some of the most bizarre poker you've ever seen, and it will happen every so often, but you know, there's so much, you can't ever learn enough about this game, about poker, and finding that fine balance of the math, the feel, the strategy, changing gears. And how important is changing gears? And
what about what Liz said to me in the interview? Listen to this. I think I might have mentioned it before. You know, Liz said to me that now 80-year-old woman who's a nomad living in her truck going from series to series says, oh, well, they know how I play now, so I have to change my strategy. That's what she said to me.
At 80,
so aware at 80,
changing
his strategy at 80 years old. And, of course, Liz losing heads up to Dipper. And great to see you joining us here, Dipper, in the chat.
Oh, there he is, yes.
Took the day off. I just want to we don't get to all the comments. There's
Hang on,
quite
took
a
the
lot.
day off to give someone else a chance.
No, you weren't here with me. You weren't here with me, Harvey, prior to the break, and I'm praying you're still listening, Dipper. You may not have been with me before, and when this story I'm about to tell you is no word of a lie. I have the text message to prove it. My 95-year-old grandmother messaged me and saw a post on the site that Dipper had won a tournament, and she messaged, oh, I know Dipper, how's he going?
Wow.
My 95-year-old grandmother was more interested in if Dipper won a tournament than her own grandson, and I had to let her know that Dipper got the better of me on day one. But great to see. I can't believe my nan's sitting here tuning in. Had no idea she'd watch the stream at all, and there you go, Dipper. Nan more interested in your results than mine. Star of Australian poker is Dipper. I think that proves it.
Yeah. And the good news, Dipper, is that everyone survived those late night kebabs. I've seen everyone who joined us. No food poisoning. A couple of the boys made a very good run in this tournament too, who joined us last night. Dipper celebrating his win down in Broadbeach with kebabs. Here he is. Tell your grandma I'm going to shout her dinner.
She'll be able to see it in the chat. Still lives on her own. Tuning into the poker streams. Well, I just found that out. I had no idea. And there you go, Nan. If you are listening, Dipper's going to shout your dinner. You won't be the first person that Dipper shouted, and you won't be the last. Dipper well known for shouting the bar at Star Casino after winning his WPT ring. I think that was a cheap shout for Dipper the kebabs.
Yes,
one of the cheapest shouts he's gone forward. He probably I'm tipping he put $100 over the counter as well.
He did. He just chucked the $100 bill on the counter, and he said, "Give us a few kebabs and keep the change." This is also developing, especially if Josh gets involved here with the suited Queen Jack. He doesn't though.
A bit on the looser side here from Matty, calling this under the gun, this one raise with King Jack O, but you know, must have some read on Ahmed. Ahmed, who have been so impressed with from 10 left, have kept asking the chat if we've got any details on Ahmed.
And it would have been a ripper of a flop had he played the Queen Jack.
It's going to have to feel like if we do choose this combo to call pre, this might have to be a ball we start constructing some bluffs on with that King and Jack in our hand, blocking King Queen and Queen Jack. And here he goes. Good to see he does listen. And I think that we're definitely going to have to fire a couple of barrels here. We can't just be one and done on this. We can't just be one and done on a board like this if we choose to call the King Jack. You know, and maybe this is a card we potentially might not barrel, but I think we still have to bet King Queen and Queen Jack suited for value. And be interested to see how Matt proceeds here, what size he goes with if he does choose to bluff. But I'm not sure we can call this combo pre and not fire two. He does check. Yeah, that 4 of spades, not the greatest card for Matty. Unsure about this one from Matty, and we're just obviously going to see a bin here, but it's something we've seen Matty do recently.
his facial expression feels like he could be contemplating call, but King High would be extraordinary. He puts that one into the muck. Glad to see you're in the chat, Yan Wen Yi, and multiple APT winner of the Beast as well, I believe. You were the original Sunrunner of the group, and things have changed these days, but it's good to see you still following Australian poker. It was great to have you here for a couple of years, Yan, back at home in Malaysia. Still tuning in. Love seeing this international flavour here from Yan Wen. Thanks for tuning in all the way from Malaysia, buddy. Obviously supporting one of his best mates here, Lachlan Crilly.
Would be a popular winner, Lockie, wouldn't he?
There would. I couldn't imagine. It would be close. Nothing's Dipper level in terms of popularity, but it would be close. Lockie just been on that pub scene since he was probably 18 years old, even potentially younger. Who knows? But you know, such a popular player is Lachlan, and he's just one of the great people. He really is. Great family out there. Live out in Heaton Hill in Brisbane.
You know, the two of you shared the commentary booth for a fair while. He's pretty good behind the mic too.
I don't know anyone that loves poker more than him. He can go and flick a 2.5K, 5K, and he can play 10,000 hands a day of cash, and he'll go to the local pub that night and play the $30 pub game. He'll send you 6 hand histories against Uncle Joe's 70-year-old 10x raise under the gun. He just loves poker, loves it, and he's just they're great. Just like the Crillies, they're such a great family, and he'd be one of the most popular wins I could think of.
Yeah, it's in Bass's side.
Let's see, small against the big. I haven't seen this too much. Poker I've been watching, it's never really got to that stage. There's always been a raise or someone wanting to get involved early. Just explain VPIP again for our viewers.
No worries. So that's an abbreviation we've got in poker for when we voluntarily put chips into the pot. So VPIP simply is voluntarily put in pot. And that's just the chips that go into the middle other than the blinds. So when we choose to enter a pot, and that stat just tells us, you know, the amount of percentage of hands we're playing. If we're on the loser side, we're going to be looking at 40%. As we can see, very reasonable percentages there, around that 30%
Yeah,
mark.
they're all nearly there, weren't they?
Yeah, so, you know, and overall, over a long span of hands, it's probably really what we're looking for. We've got a real small sample size for that, but it gives us an indication as, you know, that VPIP comes up, and if we see someone at 0%, we obviously know that their percentage in the long run isn't zero. It just tells us in the last 50 hands, they haven't been able to play a single hand. So we had a few zeros before, but you know, that's just an indication of how many hands we're playing over, a specific sample size.
And our stats are only on this table too. They may
Correct.
have been
Yes,
very aggressive on another table, but they've come here and been a bit card dead. So
just an indication of the action in the last few hands if you're just tuning in.
It is pretty noisy out there in the main room. There's still a lot of people here. It's been a $150 tournament that was very, very popular. And we're coming to the end of an Omaha tournament there as well. And I think I might have seen Anthony Hashem still in that at the.
Is that the 1K? It is the
the 1250 big PLO. I'm assuming you.
That would be it. I think there's only a handful, certainly on a final table, there's only a handful of people left in that. I'm pretty sure Anthony was there and had a, well, I'm not pretty sure, I know, because I could hardly see his face behind the stack that he had in front of him.
You're kidding.
Oh, no, he
Wow.
was doing very, very well.
There could be a Hashem Trophy after all, even if instead of Tony bubbling all these events, maybe
Tony's got 15 more events to play in the next 2 days. He's still a chance. How did Jack go out? I didn't see him get eliminated. Thrown around the chips, was he?
No, he took a spot. He took a mandatory jam with pocket eights and lost a flip versus Ace Queen, I think. But it was just, oh yeah, no, that was against Ahmed. So Dion raised, Ahmed called behind off 25, and Jack decided to take 23 big blinds to the streets with pocket eights from the small blind, and Ahmed snap called behind the original raise with ace queen suited. It was a very good flop from eights from memory. It was like 7-4 deuce, and Ahmed hit that ace on the turn, and that was the end of Jack. Very standard spot.
Saw him having a smoke outside, so I was assuming that he had been eliminated.
No, he was out. And 9th place finisher.
Don't want to bring the AFL up again, but I do have to say it's a pleasure to be right in the heart of rugby league territory here in Queensland, and we're actually an AFL club here at Southport. And the big screen outside and the all the screens in the pub were all showing the AFL, and people are right into it too. If you are in the area, I keep saying it, this is a fantastic spot, not just for poker, but the club here at the Sharks is really well set up. Get on down over the weekend, come and play a bit of poker. I've never been here before and I'm very impressed. Bit of a different feel this too. The last Australian Poker Tour in Adelaide was actually at a city in the hotel in the city, in the function rooms. Very different feel to doing it at a club.
Yeah, club's definitely a good vibe, I think, especially this club, Southport Sharks. Great club.
This is a great club. This is the foresight of the people who put this together. They've got lots of historical stuff around. Looks like they had a benefactor who put in a couple of $1 million a long, long time ago and bought this huge, sprawling piece of land out in the back of Southport. Josh has raised at 60 here with the King Queen. Michelle folds. Murray looks like he's gone all in with the Queen Jack. Lockie's got the ace-8. He's folded that, so we come back around to Josh. And he decides to call. He's going to be pretty happy with that call when he sees the cards flip over.
Let's go, come on, rolling. Oh, you're not fault with anymore.
So it's Josh at risk here with the King Queen against Murray's Queen Jack.
All right, players, we do have an all-in call in the Goliath final table.
As you can see with the percentages there, Josh, massive favourite pre-flop.
Dion's Queen Jack. Josh is at risk.
Here we go.
Flops 5, Jack, 5, 2 hearts.
So, of course, the jack comes out. Oh, that's going to make it interesting now. You can see the outs up the top. And the 5 is not one of his outs, so we lose another player. Josh Goldsmith goes out in 8th. He also picks up 5.5K for his work. And yet again, we see someone come from behind.
And win. Yeah, Josh, winner of this event previously, as a previous winner of the grind, so to make another final table here, huge effort. He's copped a pretty bad beat there with the King Queen. Obviously, the most lively the chat had been for this final table was the big fold he made there with Jacks. A couple of his mates chiming in when that hand occurred, but King Queen was good enough for Josh there and just wasn't able to hold. 7 remain.
So, just even in the last few hands, we've seen 2 all-ins, and both the players who were miles behind pre-flop have been able to scoop it.
Michelle, that huge double ace-9 versus ace-king, and then again ace-4, flopping the 4. It's just such a hard man to knock out of tournaments. And he's certainly someone you don't want with chips next to you. So I'm just going to go to your question, Jamie. Do you think more and more tournaments will adopt the shot clock? Absolutely. We're going to see more of this in live No Limit Texas Hold'em tournaments. There's no doubt about it. We've got the shot clock here in the Goliath, which is now a 2-day event. Not sure if that's particularly going to eventuate. We are at midnight, closing in on midnight tonight, still with 7 remaining at 1530K. But, you know, I can't see a scenario where we don't have lots of shot clocks in these high roller events. The 8K WPT main, which is one of the bigger casino premier events, is a shot clock now, and I think a lot of shot clocks are going to be you're going to see that more prevalent within the Australian poker community going forward. And I know you say there, quick game's a good game, but it's more shot clocks, introducing them are a function of these a lot of frustration with players tanking, and especially when we're closing in on the bubble. It alleviates any extra tanking from players that are particularly short or are incentivized to keep the bubble going. And these shot clocks stop that issue, but there's a lot of reasons why people don't like them as well, but I definitely see it as the way of the future.
And even with the shot clock here, we've still got 7 players closing in on midnight, and I think you're probably right. I can't see this finishing tonight. It'll just be a question of where we get to.
Thank you, Mr. Krillaman.
There are some guidelines. I'm not going to say hard and fast rules, but certainly guidelines around how long the Australian Poker Tour wants players to be sitting at a table, and also how much rest they get between days. So, we pretty much have a mandatory 12 hours here. If we finish at 1 in the morning, let's say that they wouldn't start the next day until 1 in the afternoon, so they get that rest. It's completely opposite to what we saw last night on the grind. I think we were finished by 10:30. It just raced through.
I think we were finished earlier on the Players' Champs as well.
Yes. They were good nights for us.
They were, but I think the next 3. Not sure about the coverage tomorrow. We must be bringing you the last flight of the main event. Nothing on there potentially. Actually, apologies. I do know where we're bringing you. I did forget, but it's going to be the final table of the Six Max Champs. Goodness me, I thought that was an event I could potentially flick in if we were just going to do the main event commentary, but we are going to feature that final table of the Six Max. Can't wait for that. Always a great event. Me and Harvey will be here with you to bring you that, and who can forget Sunday, the Gold Coast Champs. We're all in the money. Everyone that bags is in the money. You get a bag of chips and $1,200. Nathaniel Hutton, the one to beat there with what we have confirmed is 19 start stacks. Is the biggest bag ever in an APT main event.
Unbelievable.
I think it's close to double the biggest bag ever. I wanted to confirm that, but 19 starts there for Nathaniel Hutton, and it's going to be hard to see him not running deep in the main event. We're going to bring you that on Sunday.
And we are going to want to see the end of this one. So, I'm sure that we're just going to have to see where this finishes tonight and where it fits in to the schedule tomorrow.
Very true. Very
so
true.
It might be an earlier start for us tomorrow, and that's okay. It's a Saturday, so, we'd be expecting that people can watch the stream, aren't at work during the week. So, we'll see where this lands. It's really going to depend on whether we get a few more eliminations. If they keep playing snugly like this, the whole thing could turn around with a few callers very quickly. So, Tom with a pair of kings here. Ray checks.
Tom, as we've mentioned, definitely in my mind, one of the top 5 players in the country at the moment. And ignore the troll flag here. Tom definitely is not from Kazakhstan.
No. 2 bets, 75,000, 1 sold.
Perhaps he just has a very good Borat impersonation.
I believe that might be along the lines of what is happening, actually. So, if we have a look at this stack distribution and how our blinds are structured, we're obviously not going to be finishing this tonight, even with the added invent of the time clocks into the Goliath, the time bank chips into the Goliath. So,
no, definitely just a question of when we're going to stop, how many players are still going to be in there, and how they're going to schedule this in for tomorrow, because it was not scheduled in for a third day, and we have to take these players into consideration too, because I'm sure they were planning on playing another event, so you don't want to stop them from being able to enter another event by scheduling this alongside that. So that's what our TDs and admin staff get paid to do, so we'll let them do the job.
Now, we did have a guess about the Minotaur numbers. I'm going to take the L on that. We were looking towards 200, but I think potentially just that 2 o'clock Friday time slot, late reg still being within those kind of work hours might have cost us a few runners there, but we did get, I think, closing in on 100, maybe 80.
Yeah, I think we just got a bit ahead of ourselves yesterday with that. But still, been a great tourney.
Yes, as I said, happy to take the L there. What's this snap turnover of cards here Dion's run with? Dion limp folding 7-6 suited under the gun there, and I think Matty Gin's realised that Dion's limping range doesn't contain traps now, and we've seen the pocket 2s, the Queen Jack, and now the 7-6 suited, and Matt's capitalised with the 10 high. Love to see that from Matty, the Melburnian, representing us strong.
Of everything that's been run this week, that the numbers for that tournament are probably the only one that's been disappointing. We've had fantastic numbers. I mean, even for this is a $2,500 buy-in event. We have 66 entries into this. What are the payouts? 45K up top here for the winner.
That min cash was worth 5,500, so just a 2x min cash there if you paid the full $2,500 and didn't satellite in. But we are looking at $45,000 up top in the Goliath, $27,000 for second.
So Michelle's got the 6s again. He's probably figuring out how the hell he's going to play these, and the way he decided to play them was to push all in from the small blind, and quick fold from Murray. So very close up the top there with Ray and Tom Maguire and Murray and Ahmed. It's they're all within about 100k of each other. There's a lot of snug poker being played. Sort of not used to it because we haven't seen a lot of snug poker on these final tables. It's felt a bit like a pub game at times.
Yeah, Dion kind of showing. I think when me and Craig were on stream, we ran through that, trying to give the viewers at home, you know, a bit of knowledge and insight into who we've got on the final table. If it's a mix between pros and recreational players, and the recreationals are going to find this one tough because we do have a lot of pros on this table. Dion appears to be on a recreational type of side, but you know, as I said when Craig was in the booth, I'd be the last person to ever call Michelle Anunu a recreational player.
No, not at all.
And we did find out that Michelle, in fact, back in 2012, very unknown fact, which it was confirmed, we were allowed to tell this from Didier Guerin, that Michelle, in fact, won the 250 Sunday rebuy on PokerStars back in 2012, one of the PokerStars premier events on a Sunday. So he's a secret online whiz kid as well. Michelle Anunu back 12 years ago winning that event on PokerStars. So, you know, no slouch even in the theoretical side of things. You know he's a man who likes to look at you in the eye and put the chips in the middle, but you know, someone that can wins that event. Certainly something he's got it on his highlight reel. But Ray Wang, we know Ray well, professional for many years, and I think now semi-professional after that big APL score. Doesn't need to play as much as anyone else, winning $350,000, but Lockie Crilly and Matthew Ginn really selling his business. Great entrepreneurial mind, selling his business and taking up poker full-time recently, and look at the results that's incurred. And if you do know anything about Ahmed, let us know in the chat.
He's probably the one on the table that we know least about.
Yeah, if you let us know in the chat, love to get a few more facts on Ahmed.
Spoken a lot, Jinxie, about patience, and this is especially true in an event like this or in a series like this, really, because these guys haven't just come down for one tournament. Most of them have been playing all week, and it's definitely a tiredness element that gets into, and it's late. So you've got to just keep your wits about you, keep your head.
I mean, we know for a fact that all of these players have been here since Saturday. They flicked the opening event. Lachlan Crilly known for flicking every buy-in level. 12, 14-hour days every day. Fatigue is a massive thing in poker, as Michelle Anunu flops top set. Won't get much action, but you know, we see Dion here again. It's not something we really want to be seeing, just flooding the ace-2-0. We saw a few of these unconventional plays here as Michelle goes opts with check for deception versus Dion. But you know, we just can't.
He's not going to get paid here, is he? But
5 bets, 75,000.
We can see Dion's drawing dead, but
I'm ready to. No.
you know, Dion just can't. I know, you know, we're working with 1.3 million chips here, and we can, in parentheses, work to limp in and see flops and whatnot, but that's really not what we want to be doing on final tables, where our stack is worth so much money, and we keep seeing this from Dion, and you know, players like Crilly and Michelle and Matty, especially Tom, are going to chew into that stack if his limps keep occurring.
And if he doesn't get lucky, I mean, you know, he may limp into one and get very lucky, but it's as you say, it's a dangerous tactic, isn't it? You can get short very quickly.
You just can't do that with the ace-2 there against Michelle.
Just that one. Actually, yeah.
But he's accumulated a monstrous stack through this strategy and it's working for him, so there's absolutely no point in changing. But we've got to remember, we've got one of the best players in Australia right now, Tom Maguire, on our right. We'll be looking, he'll have his eyes on Dion's stack, absolutely no doubt about it.
Gets the same hand again.
I mean, we just can't peel here, yeah, so... You've got a few questions in the chat about Ahmed. If any information would be nice. I think we may have found the correct Ahmed. He may be a previous APT trophy winner. He won the bankroll builder a couple of years ago for 11,000. And if it is the same person, we've been told he also won the 5K in the Vic Champs back in 2017. But if you can let us know a bit more about Ahmed, we'd like that too. Doing our best here. Crilly defends the Jack 7-0 versus Tom here. Definitely down the bottom of what we want to be defending versus Tom's stack, but Crilly much more expert in these spots than myself. So, you know, it's interesting to see how he'll proceed. The Jack of Hearts working there, but not really much going on. Looser side from Crilly. I might note this down to no snap fold. He's got the thinking. We've got that 7 of clubs and Jack of Hearts working for numerous amount of backdoors versus this small size.
Decided to take a bit of time here. Thanks, Justin. I'm sure you got a volume control on your feed.
Yeah, against this small size with that Jack of Hearts working, it's really important that if we're going to choose to call these hands pre, we can't take these passive lines, and Crilly's realised that. There you go, that's why we defend the Jack 7-0. Definitely at the bottom of those type of defends that we want to be playing against the stack of Tom, especially with Tom's experience in these spots. Love that from Crilly, grinding really hard. Especially if we do take that spot pre with the Jack 7, we need to get spicy on some boards. Call with devious intentions is one of my favourite sayings, and Crilly, that Jack of Hearts working here, takes that down with a nice check raise, and we'll move on.
Do miss Dipper on the table. There's not much chat, is there?
No, no. I've noticed that. I mean, we're at a slower structure here, but this, especially on the Players' Champs final table, as well as the grind, just such a lively character. Always talking to everyone else. We had a lively table last night, but I think here's a function of 4 or 5 professionals on this table. This is a big spot for them, and they're concentrating hard, and I think that the old table talk with Dipper not being here, it's not something that's going to be at the front of their mind.
One check.
Really great flop for Tom to proceed on. We've got those backdoor spades working as well. Such a monstrous rage advantage versus Ray, which generates those snap fold. That's why we take those low suited King X's pre, especially when we've got everyone at the table covered. Tom's such an experienced player. I'm sure we'll be on a plane to Vegas soon after this tournament finishes. Won't see much of Tom in Australia for some time, I believe. And
Expected to see a lot of fireworks between Tom and Ray. Seat 1 and 2, explosive players, but it's just a general function of their distribution, not really tangling up as thus yet.
We've already lost a few of our players to Vegas with the WSOP getting underway.
Starts this week. Obviously, well, direct competitors of the WSOP, of course, but you know, a lot of those players that we do enjoy at our final tables, like Dylan Wayne, Bert Perry, Josh McCulley, Jennifer Castle. A lot of these guys in Vegas right now who would be flicking in these events, so chance for your players like Ray, Tom and Matt to capitalise on your Josh McCulley's not being here.
And there's a 9 on the flop for Tom.
6 checks.
Yeah, down there drawing dead. He's shown a lot of very unconventional plays. We've got a board here that we can attack with our specific hand. We've got that 10 of hearts working, our gutter to the nuts, and forget this board really favours us. We know that it's a very smart snack check back. We can see the specific hands, but Dion's shown a propensity for a few unconventional plays, and see how he proceeds.
5-5.
He's got the gutter. Might try and spike the jack.
Be carnage if it does occur. I think really like this turn lead size from Tom. We've got a lot of bluffs on this queen on this turn here. Once it goes snap, check, check, of course we know we have the nuts. We unblock those queens. We're going to go for a big size here. Looks like full pot.
2 bets, 275,000.
And it is full pot to the number. Tom very experienced here, and we'll obviously get the snap fold from Dion, but you know, this is the size that we're going to go with our bluffs too. Remember that when we lead this queen board with our low flush draws, say we defend the 5-6 of hearts there, and that's the exact line we'd be taking with that hand. So we've got to take those lines with our good hands too, and Tom disappointed, no further action on that flop, but such an experienced player, and we can see why.
The twitchy fingers doing the commentary, haven't been able to play, which I know you love to play. Has it been hard for you to sit and watch as opposed to being at the table?
It has, but I think it's been a lot worse because obviously we had that big score on Monday night, the only day that I could play, and obviously went down heads up to Dipper, but it's very hard to have a big run in an event like that, final table, finish second, and then next day you have to go to work. This doesn't feel like work to me, sitting here talking about poker whatsoever, but it's so hard to have that run, and then the next day it's like, at every series you just go and play the next day, and I'm like, oh, I can't play. I'm here to work. It's I definitely have missed it, but you know, love the direction Tony's taking in APT, and it's just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. Really happy I was able to flick in a couple of events, but you know, I've copped a lot of flack from my mates this week that I was the catalyst for Dipper's incredible run. I had him in the palm of my hand. I called out his hand. I couldn't put the chips in the middle. In fact, he completely and utterly talked me out of it. You can see the interview with me and Dipper during the break. We've run that a couple of times now, and so much great feedback about that interview. But the stick I've copped is that if I put the chips in the middle and hold there, Dipper's out. Maybe the rest of this week doesn't happen, but I feel like it's been for the better of the APT. He's been on every final table, and we know that so many people have logged in just to watch Dipper. So I think in the end, I'm glad I folded.
Now, we're not quite sure what the other hand is here that Murray is playing against. Tom's in, but we can't see his cards. Fortunately, well, there's a fold. To be able to tell you what's going on here, we don't know either. At times, the RFID doesn't pick up the cards. It doesn't happen often, but it's obviously happened here.
5 bets, 150,000.
I think Michelle bet out there.
6 goals.
And we're going to see that
Michelle's
we're,
one is
we're catching up now. Queen 8. Queen 8. He had trip 8s, I think.
Has Dion just got the ace high there?
Yeah, it looked like Michelle. This is catch up now. You'll see the graphics catch up.
I think that was a very big pot.
Yeah, it was a very decent pot, and I don't think
don't
Michelle actually won that from what I
No,
can see.
he had Queen 8 on. He had 8-8. We're trying to catch up here. I think he did. I think he did.
Sorry about that. That hasn't happened very often at all to us, but the graphics got stuck there. Yeah, I do mention you being in here because I know it's probably been hard for you to not be on the felt, but you've had incredible feedback. And I think for your first time in here full time doing the commentary, you've been doing a great job. And I'll go as far as saying anyone who is critical would love to be in your position. It's just pure jealousy. So no, you're doing a great job, Jinxie. It's your insight into how these guys play and what they're thinking.
I think
it's been terrific.
Most of the bad feedback I've had is from my my own mother. She keeps harping on that I say me and Harvey, and I should be saying Harvey and I, Harvey and I, and she's going to be really frustrated. She paid for that education, and I'm unable to say Harvey and I. But that's the feedback I've been getting. Sorry, Mum.
So another ace comes out. Michelle way ahead here with the 10. Murray looks him up and gets to a river, and now very much the check mark on Michelle. Let's see if he can try and extract anything else.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at...
he had 3 8s, so I'm sure he won that.
No, so I'm just looking at Dion's blue chips.
Yeah.
You know, Dion was well over 1.2 million, and I feel like he may have bet the turn there with ace high, and
so just the call there, and the trip 10's full house there. Obviously, takes that out.
I just want to reiterate, we are in the back of a locked room, dark locked room, commentating. We're commentating this as you see it. We can't see half an hour into the future, but I've been wrong a lot this week, no doubt about that. But you know, Dion playing a lot of these hands that shouldn't be really, you know, entering the pot with. We saw the 2s, the Queen Jack. We saw the 6-7. We saw the Ace 2 previously, and we did predict that Tom and Michelle are going to try and target Dion there, and within the space of an orbit, it appears we're just going to get updated stack, but it appears that 70% of that stack has gone in hands that potentially may not need to have been played. And I think that you know, it's definitely something that I've identified Tom and Michelle might be looking to really attack Dion. Might be a really big spot for him, and it definitely helps when we have 3 8s and bottom full house on a board where our opponent's bluffing for sure. But you know, it does seem to have eventuated in the last orbit or two.
He's in again with the suited connectors, or is he? Yep. Out of the big blind. So have the 6-5 diamonds against the 9s. There is a 6 on the flop there. Tom obviously still miles ahead.
I've been so impressed since we started streaming from 13 left with Ahmed's play. Haven't come across Ahmed, don't know much about him. Can't really get much from the chat either. I'm not sure that, you know, Ahmed's too much of a regular, but has been playing unbelievable. We saw previously calling Dion pre with ace queen as a trap and being able to get Jark versus that pocket eights, but shown there's a lot of hands. I love that check jam with the 10-5 suited on the queen 10-4 previously as well versus Lachlan Crilly, getting him to fold ace king. Really been impressed with Ahmed's play, but just don't know much about Ahmed.
So probably slows Tom down there, the ace. Go check, check, and he'll see that his pocket 9s hold up. Tom just quietly and nicely accumulating chips.
That's his style. You'll see Tom here with 1.4 million, and might try and put another prediction in here, and we'll be at 3 million chip stack with 3 left, and we won't even remember how Tom did it, just the silent assassin. Been quiet down this end of the table. Not much distribution for Lachlan Crilly and Matty Gin. Distribution swings over to the other side here with King Queen suited, Ray Wang. Yeah, I can't see that Dion has 1.1 million behind him. I think that reader that we had with the with Michelle's hand may have played up the chip stacks here, and I can tell you that I'm not sure Dion's working with 1.1 million.
Everyone folded? All in?
Ray snap jams the king queen, which tells me that Dion does not have 1.1 million chips, because his 3-bet snapped this off for piles if he has. He in fact has not.
Ace of hearts, 10 of spades. Dion is at risk.
Good luck, players. Come on. That's all right. Stay away.
So we have a huge all in here. 2 overs in the gutter here for Ray Wang. Top pair for Dion. That king really puts a dagger in the heart of Dion. We can see there's only 4 outs with that ace of spades folded. And that'll do it. We'll say goodbye to Dion. Dion came in with an infinite amount of chips. We predicted this potentially could happen. And we'll lose Dion in 7th for $7,000. Great run, Dion. Obviously used that strategy to accumulate a lot of those chips, but we lose him in 7th, $7 grand. Great run, GG's Dion. Now, important announcement here as we listen up. It appears as if we'll be bagging up at 12:30. Mindful of the stress these players are under and our time constraints. GG's Dion in the chat. Great run, but it appears that we might be coming back at 12 o'clock tomorrow to continue day 3 of the Goliath. You know, originally a 2-day event. We introduced these time banks. We were unsure if it was ever going to finish in 2 days. 6 remain. And what a 6 we've got. Ahmed, the least known player at the table, the least known player at the table, apologies. I think that, you know, Ahmed's shown to be so competent here, and he's battling the 5 best players that remain, but it's anyone's fight, and it looks like that in 10 or so minutes we'll be bagging up. 10 minutes we'll be bagging up, and the final 6 left are Ray Wang. As Ray Wang picks up Kings, we've got Ray with 2.6 million chips, Tom Maguire. We're in for a really good final table here, but we are going to come back 12 o'clock tomorrow. We'll bag up in 10 minutes, so I dare say we'll play 3 or 4 more hands. We'll bag up 12:30, which is 9 minutes away, and we'll be back tomorrow at 12. I believe we'll be live on stream with commentary on the final table at 12:30.
Yeah, the bad news for you is we're back early tomorrow. It's going to be a longish day, but really looking forward to the completion of this, so that's fine. Let all your mates at home know that we're back a hell of a lot earlier than we normally are for the stream. We'll do this one until it completes.
What a wizard. We can move around. After the break, maybe we can move around. I think this, if the TD will approve.
I think this one's just not working, right? It's the only thing you have to bear in mind. If possible, just to stop the big line dynamic here.
Yeah, I'm big one. Oh, I already did? Okay.
You took it back.
Yeah, look, don't get us wrong. Really not trying to be critical of Dion whatsoever. We're just trying to bring you into the mind of the other players. And, you know, I think that Tom would have picked up a few of those limps early. Tom and Ray would have thought that maybe someone like Dion's a person that they could fight for chips, and the path to victory was through Dion because he had 1.4 million chips. And, you know, we don't know the action in that hand versus... We don't know the action versus that hand in against Michelle. We believe that he potentially bet the turn with ace high, and Michelle value bet the river. And really unsure how that hand turned out. It appeared to be a monstrous pot that we aren't able to bring the action to you from, but, you know, GG's Dion out in 7th for 7K, and interesting intersecting ranges, hands happening here. And just to repeat with everyone, we're going to be bagging up in 4 or 5 hands depending on what occurs. We'll be definitely finishing at 12:30, and we'll be back with you, I believe, 12:30 with commentary tomorrow afternoon.
Yep, and I think the players are just finding out about that now.
And come back at 2 o'clock if you guys have to. Or you guys can bag up now at 12 o'clock. And come back tomorrow at 12.
Experienced TD Brian Wynn given the players a choice. Let's listen in.
6 max, the main event. So, and you guys get early rest as well. So what do you guys want? You guys all have to agree.
I'm happy with whatever the group.
We obviously know what they've decided here because that was relayed through to us. So they're given the choice of playing through till 2 a.m. and coming back at 2 tomorrow, or playing through till 12 and come back at 12 tomorrow. We know that they've chosen 12, which is obviously 12:30 our time now because we're on a half-hour delay. And I think they've chosen to come back early so they can enter into a tournament later in the day that they...
last fight of the main event.
Last fight of the main.
That's what that'll be.
They don't want to miss that. The later they come back, the less chance they're going to have of playing that because they may still be on this table. So...
Yeah, just say,
I don't know.
so there was one opinion to go, and then there was 3 opinions of doesn't matter, whatever. Okay, so if there's 3 it doesn't matter. Okay, does anyone disagree with that?
I would rather leave. That's just my opinion. But majority rules. If you guys
He wants to keep going. He wants to live, and the rest of us will go with the flow.
I just want to have a shisha.
All right, rock, paper, scissors.
Don't do a flip.
Ray calling for rock, paper, scissors. We obviously know what they've gone with, but...
Well, it's just a flip.
Alright, so if you guys don't make a decision with that. I'm just gonna make a decision on you guys.
All right, you do the decision, whatever.
So we're gonna back up at 12 o'clock. All right. So you guys will have some rest, early rest, and come back. All right. Yep.
All right. All right.
I love the decisiveness there. It's amazing how
Well done, boys.
how decisive the players are on the table, but when it comes to when they want to
Go
finish, up to you. I don't care.
And that's it.
So the
we're not-
bags have come out.
We're not
so-
going to have a last three hands or last two hand scenario. They've called it now. Really love this decision. Such an experienced TD is Brian and gives the players the choice. We get that 12-hour rest, but don't forget, we've been here since Saturday, firing hard. 12, 14-hour days, all day, every day, and this is the biggest premier event we have with the most up top, and giving the players a chance can only be, the choice can only be commended.
Yeah, no, it's great, and you know, it really reflects a lot of stuff that's happening here on the Australian Poker Tour. A lot of feedback from the players, certainly in structure, in scheduling. There's been a lot of feedback, and yeah, this just reflects it. So we get a rest too. We're not here till 2, which I am pretty happy about. We'll see you guys tomorrow. So remember, it's going to be 12:30 for the feed. They'll be back at 12 o'clock. We're half an hour behind. So we will hopefully see you all tomorrow at 12:30 for the conclusion of this. It's the $2,500 entry. Gladiator. Goliath.
90.
And we'll get some sleep too. You've been a legend, mate. You've been on all night. Congratulations to you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
See you all tomorrow.
Hope everyone enjoys. See you tomorrow, 12:30.
1.5.
Calling all poker players the Gold Coast Champs main event, 150k guaranteed. Out of 125 entries, only 16 have bagged through to day 2. Our final flights are tonight, Friday at 5 p.m, and tomorrow, Saturday night, also at 5 p.m. $600 buy-in. Get yourselves in with a shout for the 150k prize pool.